We're good.
The notice requirement provided for the open public meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given, said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News on January 12th, 2022, as well as posting on the City of Plainfield's website. Mr. Clerk, we have a roll call, please.
Council members Briggs Jones is absent during roll call. Councilwoman Davis.
Present.
Councilman Hockaday.
Present.
Councilman McKenna. Can't hear you. Must be on mute.
Clicked on and off too quick. Present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
Present.
Vice President McCray.
Present.
Council President Good.
Present.
We have six members present in a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Jallo. There are no minutes to approve this evening, so we will move right along to the discussion items. We do have an update regarding the sewer utility on the discussion. B.A. Levinson, you have the floor. Can you take it from here, please?
Yes, happily. I am actually going to pass it on to Director Dabney, who is the director that oversees the sewer and solid waste utility. And I know he has a special guest with him that he wants to introduce.
We love special guests.
Yeah, good evening, Council President, members of council.
Evening.
I just want to, our cabinet members, I'd just like to take the time out and just say, like, from July 1st to present, we hit the ground running, and that I just want to give a special congratulations to the person we're going to introduce, John Louise, who was hit the ground running from day one to make sure we continue to move forward this trash collection and sewer utilities operation. And I mean, he's been doing an excellent job. And I just want to say that I'm proud of everything he's done so far to date. Everything we spoke about been happening. We're going to continue to move it forward and make things happen. So without just further ado, I just want to call on John Louise.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Louise. I've been with the Public Works Department for over 32 years. As Director Dabney indicated, on July 1st, all services offered by the PMUA was put under the Department of Public Works. And I'm happy to report that all services continued on July 1st with no interruption, even with a substantially reduced workforce. Myself and the director and our team are looking at all the operations to see where we can improve services and be more efficient. We've already made some adjustments. The downtown street cans. The downtown street cans are two parts, an outer metal or concrete shell and a plastic insert. Many of the cans had debris between the plastic insert and the outside shell. Collection staff, along with the sewer staff, removed the debris and the cans were washed. We also noted on Sundays that many of the cans were overflowing with trash, and we felt a Sunday pickup was necessary. So we now have a 7-day pickup, which I have noticed a difference, and I hope that everybody here have noticed it. Our bulk pickups. This is a service that's provided to the residents to dispose of unwanted household items. You're going to hear this a lot tonight, but this is a time-consuming, labor-intense service. It was being done with 2 to 3 employees loading a rear packer. Many of the residents were frustrated with not being able to get appointments in a timely manner. Residents were told that they had to wait 2, 3, even 4 months to get an appointment. We made some changes and added a wheel loader with a grapple attachment that minimizes what the employees have to touch. We also included open dump trucks to speed up the loading process. This reduced waiting time and increased our efficiency. So we now have no outstanding bulk pickups. Our biggest operation is a type 10 household garbage. It's divided into 2 areas, high density. These are apartment complexes and business accounts. Again, labor intense and time consuming operation. We are looking to incorporate a front loader type collection. Currently, they're using rear loader packers to pick up these items. With the front end loader, it will reduce manpower and increase our efficiency. So we're looking through all the accounts and pulling out the ones that fit the criteria so that we can start to look at automation in that. Our residential collection, the same thing. We're still using rear loader packers. We're looking to go to a side loader type operation with a boom that can grab the containers, empty the trash, and put them back. This would, again, reduce manpower, and we can utilize this manpower in other areas of the operation. Fleet maintenance. When I took over July 1st, many of the fleet maintenance repairs were being outsourced. This is very expensive. It creates a lot of issues. Getting the vehicles to and from the shops, you got to pay expensive towing fees. You also have long delays in getting the repairs done because we're not always a priority with the vendor. Doing it in-house, the staff has been doing a great job. We get the flexibility of prioritizing our repairs. I can stop a mechanic from doing a truck because another truck is needed. So there's a lot of benefits to doing it in-house. We're also going to look at the budget, and I know that we're going to bring the cost down to do these repairs. Missed pickups. That was a big thing when I took over. And when I say me, I mean the director and the whole team. So I apologize. There was cases where we were getting 25 to 30 missed stops a day because I look at the report before I go home and I want to address those. We are now down to about 2 to 3 on average. We did have one day where there was no missed stops, and I got to tell you, I drank a whole bottle of wine to celebrate. Storm drains. Storm drains we put under the sewer utility. It requires a special piece of equipment, and DPW used to do storm drain maintenance, but now that we have the utilities, the sewer trucks are out there. This is something that they can add to their service schedule, and it's a win-win for everybody because now that frees up DPW staff to do other functions of DPW. Signage, decals on all of the equipment. There are some pieces of equipment that still have the former PMUA emblems and things like that. We are working towards that to get those equipment and those items updated. We did do a large portion, but you may still see some pieces out there, and we're definitely working to make sure that everything is transitioned over. The uniforms, for cost-saving purposes, we're going to continue with the same uniforms to the end of the year, and then we can look at renegotiating the contracts. Job opportunities. This is something that the PMUA was known for, providing second chance opportunities for employment. The Department of Public Works always shared in that vision. Many of the employees at the DPW came in through various programs with little job experience, lapses in their job history, and in some cases, not even a driver's license. And I can tell you, as a manager for Public Works, that was most rewarding thing for me to see someone get a chance, take advantage of it, get the skills they need to get a better paying job and be a productive part of the workforce. The Public Works, we had a job fair. The utilities, we had a job fair. We got a lot of applications, and we were able to hire over 17 city residents. Solid waste is not for everyone, so we'll continue to evaluate the employees and fill the vacancies. But again, there was 17 Plainfield residents that received employment because of the utilities. In closing, I want to thank all the members of the community and elected officials that call me with words of encouragement, placing confidence in my new role. But I ask everyone to please be patient. With the supply and demand issues created by COVID, the equipment that I'm talking about tonight, the front loaders, the side loaders, It's going to take time to get. However, we are definitely headed in the right direction. As I told my staff at the DPW yard, and now I'm telling the utility staff, we strive to be 100% every day. However, the reality is most days we're not going to get there. We're going to have misstops and we're going to have mistakes. But I've always said how we handle those misstops and mistakes is how the community and everyone will judge us. So again, I want to thank you for your time tonight. I know it was a short overview. There's so many things that are taking place that I really haven't touched on, only because I know that your time is valuable and you have other things to move on to. But again, thank you for your time.
Mr. Louise, we thank you for that presentation. And of course, I'm pretty sure the rest of us will agree with me that we appreciate all that you and your department does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council President, if I may,
Councilwoman Davis?
I do want to publicly give kudos to Director Dabney, Superintendent John Louise, and to the mayor. When we made this transition, I was very vocal about my concerns with making this transition. And I have to say publicly, the same way I was concerned, I'm happy to see that the administration in the city has risen to the occasion of continuing services and also in hiring Plainfield residents. So the same way I said to the mayor that I would be here to hold them accountable, I also want to be here and give them the congratulations and kudos that they deserve for for improving the services. And I hope to see more improvements to come. So kudos to all of you.
Thank you.
We can only go up, even further up now at this point, Mr. Louise. Ain't no stopping us now. Thank you, Councilwoman Davis, for your comments. So we're going to move on now to consideration of public hearing and second reading and final passage. Mr. Clerk, will you please proceed with MC 2022-30?
MC 2022-30 is an ordinance amending the schedule of salaries and wages adopted pursuant to Article 14, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1971, United Service Workers Union Local 255 USWU. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 8th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public that would like to speak on this particular ordinance. With there being none, I may have a motion to close public hearing on this ordinance.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Roll call.
I'm sorry. Mr. Clerk, can I please have a roll call?
Council members Davis?
Yes.
I was looking to see if Councilman Briggs Jones had joined us here. Councilman Hockaday,
Yes.
Councilman McKenna,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
and Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2022-31 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publications and requirements.
MC 2022-31 is an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 16, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 7 through Street Stop Intersections, Stop Yield Intersections, designating four-way stop intersections. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 15th, 2022.
Floor is now open to any member of the public that would like to speak on this particular ordinance. If there are none, May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted,
Council President.
yes, Mr. Mayor. How are you, Mayor?
I'm wonderful, thanks. I saw the
Great,
hand.
sir.
I saw the hand of Valerie Jackson. I don't know if that was a mistake or not, but her hand was raised.
Well, it was up earlier when it wasn't, I don't think we were talking about anything that she would raise her hand for. So it may have been an error. If it goes up again, we're going to find out what she wants. Okay, Mayor? May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
We're going to move right along, Mr. Clerk, to MC 2022-32, title and further certified that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2022-32 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union granting a tax exemption with respect to a portion of certain properties identified on the city's tax map as block 509 lot 1 and designated in the city's tax record as 1030 through 1108 Plainfield Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey, and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with Plainfield Ave FC Partners Urban Renewal LLC. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published on July 15th, 2022.
And the floor now is open to any member of the public that would like to speak on this particular ordinance. And with there being any, may I have a motion to close public comment on this ordinance, please?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Clerk, can I have a roll call on this ordinance,
Council
please?
members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, we're moving right along to MC 2022-33 by the title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publications and requirements.
MC 2022-33 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield, county of Union, New Jersey, adopting the 200 through 216 Garfield Avenue redevelopment plan dated June 16th, 2022. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 15th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this particular ordinance. And with there being any, may I have a motion to close public comment on this ordinance, please?
Moved.
Second.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Clerk,
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
MC 2022-34 by title and further certified that the ordinance has complied with statutory publication requirements. Mr. Clerk.
MC 2022-34 is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of certain real property commonly known as 512 through 524 Watchung Avenue and identified as block 835 lot 4 on the tax map of the city of Plainfield. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 15th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this particular ordinance. And Mr. Clerk, I see hands raised, but I don't see the names attached to those.
We have William Michelson.
Mr. Michelson, good evening. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening. William Michelson, 556 Belvedere Avenue, Chairman of the Plainfield Historic Preservation Commission.
Yes, sir.
Two comments about this, which we call the old YMCA property. One is that even if this is a good idea, the price is like 4 times what it should be. The commission is attempting to preserve the facade, but everything behind that is really just fit for demolition. So the price should not look like the price of the current building if it were in good shape, and it certainly shouldn't look like the price if it had the new building on it. It's just too much. The other, the HPC and the planning board gave very, very detailed approvals to the development that was planned last year for this property. So I was absolutely shocked at the last meeting when I heard the mayor say he wanted it for the so-called Center for Excellence. Whatever the issue may be about why the Center for Excellence wasn't going to be in the West End, turning it into a land use dispute is completely the wrong way to go about it. But there is another alternative here that is just so obvious. I don't know why everyone doesn't go for it right away, which is if the city wants to buy Grace Episcopal Church, that is totally suitable for the use involving cultural and educational offerings. And that would mean that the a building of apartments and retail space, which is what we approved for the old Y site, could go ahead. That's the way that it'll really serve the benefit of the people. That is absolutely the perfect location for the fairly large project that we approved for it. So this should not be a shell game. Thank you.
Mr. Michelson, will you give your name and address for the record, please, before you leave us?
I did, but William Michelson, 556 Belvedere Avenue, Chairman of the HPC.
Thank you, Mr. Michelson. We appreciate your comment.
Thank
you. Mary Burwinkle, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Mary Burwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane, objecting to passage of MC 22-2034. I object to the city purchasing the YMCA in general, but I have the following specific comments. First, the ordinance presented at the 7-Eleven meeting indicated that the city was acquiring the YM for redevelopment as a mixed use and residential project, not a community center or any kind of center. When questioned about that, the mayor said the language was mistaken, no residential or retail intended. The form of ordinance attached to tonight's agenda has not been corrected. You should vote no on this ordinance because it is incorrect. You will be proving the city developing residential and mixed use at the property. Second, at the 7-Eleven meeting, the mayor commented how much he wanted to build the center at Hannah Atkins, noting it would be a good thing for the 4th Ward. So did he look at other locations in the 4th Ward? Third, at the 7-Eleven meeting, we were told the YMCA was not for sale, that the city got an appraisal in May for $5.18 million, went to the owner and offered to buy it for that price. The price was accepted with no apparent negotiation. So here's the history of prices for the sale of the Y. In 2018, the former YMCA sold the building to a private party for under $1.5 million. In 2020, that private owner sold it to another private owner for $4.2 million. Now, 2 years later, the city plans to pay that owner $5.18 million, and the building will come off the tax rolls. Doesn't that sound like two private owners made out like bandits, and the taxpayers are now stuck with the very old building? Fourth, what will be the cost of renovating the Y, and how will the city pay for its operation? At the 7-Eleven meeting, the mayor indicated he did not know exactly what the use would be or how much it would cost to renovate the Y. He told us he intends to survey the public to ask what uses they would like for the building and hold meetings around the city to get feedback. Why didn't he do that before deciding to buy the building? He also told us that user fees would be charged, and those user fees would support the property, same as the center in Piscataway. In 2020, Piscataway opened a new community center with a pool, other recreation and meeting spaces, and surrounded by parking. Media coverage of the opening of that center indicated that it cost $32 million. So are Plainfield taxpayers looking at multiples of millions of dollars to rehab the YM building, which will most certainly need to be taken down to the studs inside? Also, the YMCA has no outdoor space for much needed recreational activities and inadequate parking. How much will users be charged? Where will they park? Council should vote no on this ordinance for the sheer lack of information available at this juncture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burwinkle. Laura Brown, your name and address for the record, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Laura Miranda Brown, and I live at 1345 Highland Avenue. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to comment. My first concern is that the council is considering voting on this when it clearly states that this will be a mixed-use residential and commercial redevelopment site. I understand that that was brought up in the last meeting. That ordinance has not been updated to reflect whatever the actual intended uses, and my concern for the city is that should this pass, this would be grounds for the entire thing to be vacated, since you are voting on one thing and certifying it as one thing and it ends up as something else. My second issue is that the city should not be in the business of developing real estate. That is not the purpose of the city. The city has lots of important functions in our day-to-day lives, and adding to its already overburdened plate seems unreasonable. And thirdly, my understanding is that the use of these funds, the funds are coming from ARPA-A funding, which, while very vague in the language that's provided by the federal government, it was intended to be one-use funding, and $5 million does not equate a center of excellence. It does not even equate to updating an old building for current ADA accessibility issues. If we have a $5 million surplus, I urge the city to consider using it for another purpose which might be better suited for it. For example, updating and rehabilitating all of our public pools, all of the area in the all the towns in the surrounding area, Westfield, South Plainfield, the beautiful new handicap accessible pools. And our kids have aging infrastructure and no ability to learn where to swim. It would be really lovely if we could repurpose this money to something that the community really needs and wants, and then do exactly as the mayor plans, have a center of excellence in an area where children are already going on a day-to-day basis, perhaps beside one of those pools. Thank you so much for the ability to comment, and I urge you to please do not pass this ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We appreciate your comment. Katisha Hallman, your name and address for the record, please, and good evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Katisha Holman. I live at 639 Brookside Place. I'm not sure because I'm new to this type of meeting. I've never logged on before. I'm not here to talk about the YMCA. I'm here to talk about another matter. So am I supposed to wait?
Yes, that would be the appropriate thing to do would be at the end of the meeting. This is the comments that are being made now are for this particular ordinance.
Council President,
no
she could be talking about a resolution or ordinance on first reading, and that would be after this. So it'd be good to kind of find out so she doesn't talk at the end of the meeting when she could talk and, you know. Ms.
Hallman, the end of the meeting will be the appropriate time because this particular ordinance is what we're discussing, okay?
Okay, I'm at work right now, so if I'm not on, then I'll just try to catch at another meeting, but I'll stay on till it's time for me to log off. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now we have Jay. Jay, can we have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Jay Lee. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I live in 1000 Hillside Avenue. I would like to comment on the
Go right ahead.
Ordinance. Yes. I would like to everybody vote against this purchase of YMCA. That's all.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Have a good night.
Okay. Bye.
Jen Johnson, thank you for tuning in. Your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Jen Johnson, 816 3rd Place, Plainfield, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Hi, I'd like to encourage the city council to vote against purchasing the Y building without having substantial costs of what it's going to take the taxpayers to renovate the building to become a center of excellence. I don't think it's fair for us to purchase the building and be left on the hook for the price of the building and renovating the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. We appreciate your comment. With there being none anymore for public comment on this particular ordinance.
There's two more.
They just popped in. Gary S., your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, thank you. My name is Gary Schneider, 825 Carlton Avenue, Plainfield.
Good evening.
The two major issues that we have going on here is that you're looking to purchase a property that without doing any due diligence at all, or any clause to have it be possible to back out of it. I do commercial. I have spoken to two environmental special companies on it that know the building but have not been inside of it, but know the date and the size of the property. They're guesstimating, without even going inside, somewhere between $15 to $20 million of EPA renovations that would must take on before you even allow any construction that would take place. That time alone estimate would probably be about 2 years in the cleanup situation. So the issue that I really wish everybody would consider is that you're buying a piece of property without due diligence, without the possibility of backing out the deal. Any home buyer like yourselves on it would definitely have a home inspection and negotiate those inspection issues. For the price of 5.2 million on it, I would believe, does not consider any environmental issues or cleanup at all that's in there. So I would strongly urge you to reconsider and not vote for this deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Have a good night. Brian Monroe, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Brian Monroe, 313 Franklin Place in Plainfield. I also would like you guys to vote no for a few reasons. One, the purpose for the Center of Excellence seems very vague. The cost of rehabilitation is just going to really sink the city. The $5 million is one thing, but when you start looking into rehabilitating such a large building with a pool and a historic structure, you're talking tens of millions of dollars. And when you're talking state money, you're talking a lot more than that, because we're going to be looking into grants and other types of federal funding, since the city doesn't really have the backing or the financial backing for this. You also need to consider that the written ordinance as it is right now is completely inaccurate for how MAP is proposing the use of the building, which could set the city in litigation for the misuse of it. So I highly urge you guys to vote no against this ordinance. Thank you.
Mr. Monroe, thank you so much. Andrew Shaw, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Andrew Shaw. I live at 1341 Prospect Ave. And I would urge you to vote no on this, or at least to table it for further consideration, for the reason that the council is not actually buying the building. The council is voting on enabling legislation to enable the administration to buy the building. And we've heard a lot of issues raised by the members of the public, some of which recapitulate issues that were raised at the first reading. And so far as I can tell, not a single one of these issues has been answered by either the administration or the council. So what are you doing? I think it's really would be appropriate for the council to not pass this ordinance just because it's in front of it, but to go back and actually try to get answers to these questions. And if satisfactory answers are not forthcoming, then to realize that this ordinance is in fact an inappropriate use of public funds. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shaw. Have a good night. And Francine Gargano, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Francine Gargano, 57 Willow Avenue in North Plainfield. I realize I'm not a Plainfield resident, And Gary Schneider was just on here and he knows better than I, but the housing market has dropped, which means that the price of everything is going down. So you may want to consider, if you are going to go ahead and purchase this, waiting a little bit longer. And, you know, like I said, Gary Schneider can help out here, but maybe you can negotiate a better price. If you have to go forward with this, which I don't agree with and everybody else doesn't agree with, but I don't have to pay taxes in Plainfield. So that's not my issue. I'm just thinking, be smart. Market's going down. You can renegotiate this, wait a little bit longer and see if you can get a better price. And just one other thing I have to comment on, because I want it on the record. I actually think you may be violating the sunshine law. We cannot, at least on my computer, I cannot see the other people in the room. I have no clue as to whether or not you can see me, which is really creepy and scary. Somebody has been able to take away all of my controls. I've been in other council meetings, Board of Adjustment meetings on Zoom, and never have I seen this happen before. So I really do believe it's a violation of sunshine law because I can't see how my other fellow people on here are reacting. We can't, if you're not looking at us, which I hope you're not because it's creepy, because I don't know if you are or not, because I can't see my video if it's on or off. If we want to shake our heads when somebody says something, yes or no, and if our videos are off, you can't see it and they can't see it, which is, I think, denying us a speech through the physical way. So I honestly think that you have a big issue by turning this all off. And also last time your attorney disappeared, his name and everything disappeared, but he was still listening, which again, I think may be a violation of sunshine law. Let somebody in Plainfield deal with that, but I want it on the record that this is what's happening. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Gargano. We appreciate your comments.
Council President, if I could just respond to that.
Go right ahead.
We cannot see any members of the public unless they enable their camera and we allow them to speak. This is a webinar style. So all the council members and members of the administration are on this platform as panelists and the public are on as attendees. When it's time for public comments, we allow them to join the meeting and we only can hear their voice. So this is not a violation of the sunshine law and we cannot see the public unless they enable their camera. I just wanted to make that clear.
Mr. Clerk, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. May I have a motion to close public hearing on this particular ordinance, please?
Moved.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
We
You
didn't
got to
vote.
vote on closing public.
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstaining? Motion carries. Now, may I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final
I actually
passage?
have a comment before we go to a vote.
Mr. McKenna, Councilman McKenna, go right ahead.
So I just want to point out to my fellow council members that we're voting on an ordinance to purchase property for the development of mixed use and residential. That is what the ordinance says. We're going to use federal funds to do that, which is extremely gray, if you ask me. And we have a proposal, which I'm sure you all read in your packet, from Think Wilder Architecture, that's resolution 300-22, which is associated with the Center of Excellence, that outlines in its scope of services that the client wishes to renovate the existing commercial space and create a restaurant, bar, performance club. So I know that the mayor said that last ordinance was a typo. Unfortunately, it's an ordinance, so we shouldn't really have typos to that extent in our ordinances, especially when they go through two readings and we're using federal funds. And we also apparently got a scope of work from an architect on this building because it's the header of it is Plainfield Excellence Center, Community Facility Renovation. And we've obviously got some mixed use elements to it. The mayor also talked about how they had looked at the Piscataway Community Center, which is quite incredible. I think they spent $32 million. So we're making a minor little down payment on this because they spent 32 million over 5 years or 10 years. And I think that probably had to include the cost of the property. And this isn't anything like that kind of a property. There's not enough parking. There's not outdoor space. There's not space for an outdoor water recreation area that they have. We went and looked at a neighbor's beautifully done project, which by the way is run by the YMCA. And then we jam it into what's considered the central business district. And I don't even think it's a permitted use in the zone when the redevelopment plan was done. So I make a motion actually to table this ordinance because it is not written properly and it says it's for mixed use and residential development, as does the document from the architect. And I think that we've got some confusion here and that I make a motion to table it.
Thank you.
What? Mr. Clark?
Yes, so the motion to table was made by Councilman McKenna, seconded by Councilwoman Davis. Councilmembers Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
No, thanks.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
We can't hear you, Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
Sorry, no.
Vice President McCray,
No.
Council President Good.
No.
Motion fails.
Mr. President,
Go right ahead, Mr. Mayor.
well, thank you for the opportunity to just give some brief remarks. And a number of things were stated, which I will not have the time to address everything that was said. But what I would say is this. The people of our city, the children and young adults in particular, deserve a place where they can go to enjoy wholesome recreational activities, celebrate achievements, have cultural, educational, and artistic experiences, just like the people in some of the neighboring communities that you heard some of the speakers this evening refer to some of what exists in those other places. So whether you are parents with young kids, empty nesters, or individuals without kids of your own, we as a collective, as a community, ought to be willing to invest in the future of the people who live in our city. A part of my administration's vision for the past 5+ years has been to build a center of excellence that would be anchored by recreational services. And so many of the same people in the audience this evening are always so quick to be critical of not having things for our young people to do. We're going to give our young people things to do in this way and in many other ways. So once it became clear that building from the ground up at Hannah Atkins wouldn't be allowed, we did the next best thing. We pivoted to the former YMCA building. We believe that the approvals that were already granted by the agency and the planning board to the current owner of the Y would allow for a conversion to a center of excellence, either directly by the city or through a P3 partnership. Hence, we are keeping our options open so as to deliver a center of excellence to the residents of our city in the most cost-effective way possible. Therefore, the council's choice is to allow the YMCA to remain boarded as a monument of blight, or to do right and to vote for its purchase and transformation. We cannot move a city forward by choosing to sit on our hands in the face of opposition. We occupy these seats not to make decisions because they are easy, but if JFK said it's because they are hard. And at the end of the day, we must do what we believe to be right. Hence, I ask you to vote for the adoption of the ordinance on second reading to purchase the former YMCA. And note, I said, we are leaving our options open in terms of whether we're going to do this ourselves or whether there will be a P3 partnership. And as was mentioned by one of the public speakers, this has been approved by the HPC and by the planning board. And so we can do the right things by the people of the city, by the young people in particular, who are asking us to provide them with amenities so that they can do what other people, other young people in other communities are doing. And so I would appreciate your approval of this ordinance on second reading. Thank you, and may God continue to bless all of us.
Thank you.
Council President, I just want to respond to that because you
Okay,
know, I find
Councilman
it
McKenna.
actually it's a council meeting, so I find it actually offensive, that gaslighting that the mayor just did, because many of us, all of us, there's nobody on this screen or on the attendees list of 157 that don't want a property as nice, if not better than that one in Piscataway or other towns. This property does not get those kids that kind of a structure or of a center of excellence. It gets them something in the middle of the city without outdoor recreational combined with it, which means you're busing them around to different facilities instead of actually over the last 8+ years spending the time to find property that you can buy, demolish, and can consolidate everything into one venue that is similar to Piscataway, with parking, with an outdoor water, what's it called, the Raritan Water Fund event there that they have, which is quite the water park, plus the interior huge amenities that they have that are all managed by the YMCA. So for the mayor to act like nobody wants to do this is just a bald-faced lie, and it's gaslighting beyond belief. The reality is we don't want to spend federal funds that we probably shouldn't be spending on this because it's for short-term investments that don't have recurring costs. This is a down payment on a huge cost. Secondly, it should be in an appropriate area where there's fields and outdoor activities and an outdoor pool and an indoor pool and everything. And if it costs 50 million, I'd be the first one going door to door with a can to raise it. So I'm offended by that comment. You can throw any quote you want, JFK, anybody you want. It makes no difference. This is a dumb location. It doesn't give the kids all the benefits of a single use, single location community center of excellence, recreation center, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't achieve that, and it's ridiculously expensive. So what you're doing is spending the taxpayers' money in a poor way to try to get kids something that you're not getting them the full benefit of. So that's why I'm going to vote no. Plus, it also doesn't say recreation or center of excellence. It says mixed use and residential. So I'm not going to vote for that when we're spending federal funds on it.
Okay, Councilman McKenna, thank you so much. I believe someone was about to speak.
I was
I make a motion that we pass.
about to speak. And
Councilwoman Davis, go right ahead. And then we are going to take a vote on this particular ordinance.
so I want to be
Go right ahead.
very clear on my position and stance when it comes to this. I think the mayor gave a great impassioned speech about this. I disagree that this is a bad location. Quite honestly, I think this is a better location than Hannah Atkins when we look at the city of Plainfield and we look at the makeup and the history of the city of Plainfield. I think having it in the center of town makes it a better location. Do I think that the YMCA should be our location for it? I'm not exactly sold, and I'm not sold on this project because I'm not really sure what the true costs are going to be in order to renovate this to be the center of excellence that this administration has a vision of. So I don't disagree that we need something for the children of this community. I think that the community has been asking for that. I think where my concern comes in is $5.5 million at this point that we're allocating to it going to be enough? And when it is not enough, or if it is not enough, then who realizes the cost to make this the center of excellence that we want it to be? I think that the location of having something in the center of town isn't a bad location at all. Do I think that there are better places in the center of town that might actually be worth $5.5 million to purchase and renovate? Yes, I can think of a building right on Park Ave that might be a little bit better because it's already near another city facility. But my concern is not that I don't think that the children of Plainfield deserve this. I want to be clear on what my stance is. My stance is how much does this actually cost the taxpayers now and over time? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Davis. Now, with that all being said, may I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Moved by Vice President McCray, seconded by Councilman Hockaday. Roll call on MC 2022-34. Council members Davis,
Respectfully, no.
Hockaday,
Definitely.
McKenna,
No, thank you, to quote Mr. Hockaday.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
and Council President Good.
Yes.
That's 5 in favor, 2 opposed, sorry, 4 in favor, 2 opposed. The ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, MC 2022-35 by title and
Yes.
further.
Yes,
go
Council
ahead.
President. Just for your information, I've recently been informed that there were some additional publication and notification requirements that were required for this ordinance prior to final adoption. Therefore, I would recommend that there be a motion to table this ordinance to the next meeting until we can take care of those legal things that we have to take care of.
Yes, and I am aware of that, and I will make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Proceed. Or proceeding. Public comment limited to resolutions, motions, and ordinances to be introduced on first reading. A total of 30 minutes have been allocated for public comments limited to resolutions and ordinances being considered this evening. If you wish to be heard, hit the hand icon to be recognized and you will be unmuted. Once you have been unmuted, please give your name and address. Just for the record, each speaker will be given 3 minutes. The floor is now open, and let me just repeat that MC 2022-35 has been tabled for those within the sound of my voice. Ms. Holman, your name and address again for the record, please. Letitia Hallman, your name and address for the record. We can't hear you. You're muted. Please unmute yourself.
I've sent them a request to unmute. They have not. Maybe they didn't mean to have their hand raised. Would you like for me to go to someone else and then we can go
Yes,
back?
we can go to someone else and maybe she'll come back in, okay? Okay, who's next? Daddy 823, your name and address for the record, please.
Mike Gagliardi, 966 Hillside Avenue.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. And Council Barry Good, thank you for responding to my email.
You're welcome, sir.
And we love the community. We love the place we live in. But I'm hard pressed to see what the advantage is to canceling out the Historic Preservation Committee and doing an end around that. Don't we have some say in the community and what goes in or on here?
And this is your opportunity, sir.
Well, please advise me. What input do we have, and what rights do we have?
We are here to listen to your concerns.
No, I would like you to answer my concerns. I live in your community. I pay taxes. I vote. What rights do we have?
Well,
Council President.
Go right ahead, Mr. Jallo.
The ordinance dealing with the historic preservation has been removed from the agenda. We're dealing on ordinances to be considered and resolutions to be considered. I would advise that anybody that wants to speak about that ordinance that's been tabled, that they could wait till general public comments.
And that's what I had said earlier.
Well, thank you, Barry. I'm sorry I missed that. So do I understand that we will not be neutered and spayed and that we can still have a voice?
Yes, you will have a voice, sir, if you'd like to hang out with us until the end of the meeting. And then you'll be able to come back in for a comment. Mr. Michelson, my cup runneth over, sir. Your name and address for the record.
Good evening again. William Michelson, 556 Belvedere Avenue, Chairman of the Plainfield Historic Preservation Commission. I'm probably going to be away for your next meeting, so if I may put in the comments now that I was expecting to make, I'd be most grateful. This didn't really dawn on me until today when I was preparing for this meeting, but the changes that are proposed to the historic
Council President, once again, that ordinance is not being considered today. It's being tabled, so I would advise that you have the speaker speak at the end of the meeting when it's appropriate.
Mr. Michelson, if you'd like to hang out until the end of the meeting, we'll be more than happy to listen to your comment.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Keith S., your name and address for the record, please. Just everyone that is waiting to be heard, please know that the ordinance that was just what we just spoke about has been removed from the agenda on this evening. If you'd like to speak about that later, you're more than welcome to do so. Mr. Keith, your name and address for the record.
Keith Salvata, 308 West 8th Street.
Yes.
My questions and concerns are on the proposed resolution to reappropriate certain ARPA funds, specifically to the Center of Excellence. I'm a CPA and I have some experience, a good amount of experience setting up organizations and special projects. And I've learned to look for red flags and things like this. And I think there are a good amount here. Where does the control of the center lie within the city? Who is actually receiving these funds? Who has authority to spend this cash? Are there any rules governing the allowable uses? I'm hoping that there are some good answers here, but I would be a little surprised if there were. In the last meeting, the mayor told us he had a name of a thing, the Center of Excellence, just a name, really. But he had no further plan, and he was going to defer to the citizens to decide on that, I should say. As a citizen, I do not recall being asked. So it seems that this council is about to vote to cut one of Plainfield's biggest checks on the name of a thing, basically, a blank check to do as you please. For projects of this size, I'd say any manager would first want to figure out what the requirements are before spending such huge amounts. Means the opposite is true here. Take the cash now and the reasons will follow, hopefully. And lastly, I think I'm reiterating what other people are saying, but I'm not sure how spending COVID relief funds on a building that has no hope of being completed for many years helps to solve the current COVID problems. I have to imagine this isn't appropriate or allowable for federal funds. So I urge you to vote no. Thank you all. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Henrietta Perry, your name again and your address for the record. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Henrietta Perry. I live at 639 Brookside Place. I think my comment was for the end. I misunderstood you earlier.
That's okay. That's okay. If you want to hang out, you can. And
yeah,
we'll
my
listen.
concern, I'm sorry, sir. My concern was the same concern as Katisha Holloman. We all live in the same house without a driveway.
Okay, we'll be more than happy to listen to your comment later on if you don't have a problem hanging around with us.
Okay,
Stick
thank
around.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, it doesn't appear like we have any more for public comment. Motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Public comment is hereby closed. Are there any questions on resolutions R272-22 through R274-22?
No. Council President, I make a motion to consolidate R272-22 to R274-22.
Second, and I want to thank Ms. Hamlin for all the work she's done in the city. And I know we have the resolution giving our condolences to the family of Alex Tolliver, but definitely a special a send of condolence and love to former Councilwoman Diane Tolliver in the loss of her husband, and just our deepest sympathies and our love around her and her family.
And I echo those words that Councilwoman Ashley Davis said about Mrs. Dolly Scott Bay. We wish her well. Also, prayers and thoughts continue to go out to former Councilwoman Diane Tolliver. All in favor of combining R 272-22 and 274? All in favor? We have a motion and a second. Any opposed, any abstaining? It's granted. Mr. Clerk, will you please proceed with the remaining reading of the resolutions, please, sir?
Resolution 275-22, granting advice and consent to the appointment of John Barclay to the District Management Corporation for the Plainfield Special Improvement District.
Are there any
Council
questions?
President, motion to combine R 275-22 to R 281-22. I'm sorry,
Do we have a-
279-22.
I'm sorry, you said 270 what, Councilman?
275-22 to 279-22.
Is there a second?
I second that, but I also have questions.
Think we can do both?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead, Councilwoman Davis. What's your question?
Yes, so for R 277-22, with the memorandum of understanding between, or the memorandum of agreement between the city of Plainfield and the Denellen and River Road Rescue Squads. I have a couple of questions. One, how does this affect the Plainfield Rescue Squad? Two, how does this improve response times within the city? Also, what is the fiscal impact to the city by allowing them access to our fuel?
Okay, so I'll try to remember all three, but I'll just talk on the topic. I'll talk on the topic and I think it will answer your questions. So as you know, we've been having a EMS minor crisis in the city with long wait times, and we do have the Plainfield Rescue Squad, and they have gotten a new vehicle from the county. However, they are still often short vehicles, often short manpower, and other host of issues that make us not confident to rely on them solely for all of the services that we need. JFK also responds here, and the county also responds here, but we're not always first priority. We have many non-emergency emergencies that require EMS but are not urgent, and so they take hours sometimes. We also and we've been in talks with JFK, we've been in talks with the county, we've been in talks with Plainfield Rescue Squad. This has been going on, and we continue having those open dialogue. However, the River Road and Denellen Rescue Squad reached out to us to let us know that they've been responding to calls here more frequently in the past few months than they ever have before. And they are a solely volunteer organization. They're not, in Plainfield, and so there's fuel costs associated with them coming here. Obviously, right now, fuel is incredibly expensive, so it's a big cost to them. Also, we have a large population of uninsured patients, so they're not necessarily even able to bill for the services that they're providing here. Their intent is to continue coming to Plainfield and answering the calls in a timely fashion. However, they can't lose money. They can't bankrupt themselves doing that. So this MOA is us agreeing to provide them with fuel, something we have for something we need from them, which is responding to our EMS calls.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, but I think one of the questions was, what's that fiscal impact? Because we already have a budgeted amount of money for fuel, for the fleet of vehicles we have, for, the rescue squad at a discounted price. So how does adding one more service entity, how does that affect the money that we have budgeted for fuel costs, especially when the price of fuel is kind of high right now?
So we are we are going to look into that. For right now, we're okay. However, because remember, we also took on the sewer and solid waste budget, which had their own fuel items. However, we are going to look in November about transfers, and also fuel is a expense that is allowable, especially fuel for EMS, for any police, fire, EMS services, is an ARPA approvable expense. So if we were in a dire situation, we would come to you and put a resolution forward to reappropriate ARPA money for fuel for EMS services.
So how much ARPA money do we have left to still reappropriate? Because we're reappropriating ARPA money right now, but that is a side question to some
They're
of the
all
other.
moving, they're all liquid because they're all moving targets.
Okay. So I hear you saying that we have non-emergency emergencies, and also we have people who they can't bill because they're uninsured. So they could potentially run into the same problems that the Plainfield Rescue Squad is having in terms of not being able to pay the bills, prioritizing higher emergencies over what we have now. How do we know that they're going to be able to provide what we need? And does the city actually have a role in this, like in trying to get volunteer squads to come here?
Well, we have a responsibility to make sure that the services that are coming into the city are of a certain level for the residents. So this is kind of a workaround based on the situation we're in.
Okay, and I think my last question is, what experience do they have with communities like Plainfield? I know you said that they've come into our town and they've been coming in maybe a little more than what they usually do, but what is their other experience with communities similar to ours, with the demographics that we have in Plainfield, with the non-emergency emergencies that we have so very often?
Well, they've been coming here more than 100 times a month for over 6 months. So they're not new to Plainfield. As soon as our other providers decreased in their amount of time coming, they started picking up the slack. So they are, it's not like next month they're going to start fresh. They've been helping us basically all of 2022. They are also in other places, obviously Denellen. I think they're in Greenbrook. They're in a bunch of other areas in which they're having similar conversations about helping sustain them so that they can provide this service to those other communities as well.
Okay, I think my last question is just, and I want to be clear, I don't disagree with it. I think I'm just more unsure, and it's not unsure from you all, like just unsure of how this works, but how we also as a community help the Plainfield Rescue Squad, because I think they're important to us as well, and they're important to the fabric of this community. So I want to be sure that we're not bringing in somebody else who is going to then push them out when they are so essential to the community, when they are made up of community members. And they have answered like 7,000 calls a year, and they provided mutual aid to them as well.
Yeah, we've been working very closely with the Plainfield Rescue Squad for about a year now, and this is a workaround for things we haven't been able to iron out there.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been moved and second to block 275 resolutions.
I had
to
Councilman
279.
McKenna as the person who made the motion. Who made the second?
I think Ashley, and then she had questions.
I think I seconded and then said I had questions.
Yes, she did. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, I believe we're at R280-22.
R280-22's resolution authorizing an additional appropriation to McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman.
Are there any questions, colleagues? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to consolidate R280-22 to R281-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any? I didn't hear you, Councilman Hockaday. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? They have been combined. Mr. Clerk, we're at 282-22.
Part 282, authorizing approval to amend the CY 2022 municipal budget.
Colleagues, are there any questions? If there are any, may I have a motion and a second, please?
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. 283-22.
Resolution 283-22, authorizing approval to reappropriate certain grant reserve balances associated with the American Rescue Plan Act.
I need a motion. Are there any questions first?
I have a
Yes.
question.
Go right ahead, Councilman McKenna.
Ladies first.
So we're reappropriating money from the improvements to the municipal court and the police headquarters. Have those improvements taken place, and is this leftover money?
I can speak to that. We have not started those improvements because we have a different idea that would not require us needing to make them.
Is that related to one of the ordinances later on in the meeting?
The different idea?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Councilman McKenna?
Yeah, so, it's kind of interesting. We just talked about the rescue squad and mutual aid, which mutual aid, by the way, works both ways. So we need to make sure that we're not over stressing Dunellen and not being able to provide mutual aid back to them in return. But we're moving $250,000 in ARPA funds, which for the public, those are rescue plan funds from the federal government. That's part of the $5 million. That's the $5 million going to buy the YMCA. We're moving $250,000 of those funds away from ambulances. So did we inherit ambulances, or we bought them cheaper, so we have 250,000 left over?
We
to
did
move?
get one. We did get one from the county. The county provided one to the Plainfield Rescue Squad, but also
And they used it. Oh, go ahead.
But also when we created the original, like I said before, the ARPA funds are a moving target. These are ideas that we have, that we document, and then we pivot as necessary. So
Well, I'm understanding that, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I have a problem when we just talked about needing mutual aid from.
I know, I was going to explain that.
And we have 250,000 we were going to spend on an ambulance. We got one from the county, but the rescue squad used to have 3. So now they have.
Can I explain it?
Go ahead, VA Levinson.
Okay, so one of the reasons that we are reappropriating this money is because we were happy to give ambulances to the Plainfield Rescue Squad. It was one of our first ARPA ideas. However, we have required that the Plainfield Rescue Squad provide us with their financial audits for the past year. They're required to file a financial audit. We have offered to have our auditor review their books, review their audit. We need to make sure we're a custodian of these funds. We need to make sure that we're being prudent. We need to make sure that we are giving funds to an organization that, is keeping good financial records. It is now August 15th, 2022. I believe the first time I made that request to the Plainfield Rescue Squad was a similar time in 2021. I've met with them in person. I've emailed numerous times. I'm basically begging for any audit or financial records. I've not been given anything, and therefore this is a work. We're moving money. We're going to provide fuel for Dunellen, and I've met with many other organizations, and we're trying to figure out the best way to get EMS services to our residents as quickly as possible. And therefore, since we've never gotten these documents from the Plainfield Rescue Squad, we're moving that money.
So I greatly appreciate that statement you just made, because the financials at the rescue squad have been, I don't want to say poor, but certainly ambiguous and not up to appropriate accounting standards. And I think that the structure of the rescue squad has some issues as well, which means they don't have a board, they don't have an active board. I think they're probably missing a charter of some sort. that has not been updated. And I think this is an important conversation to have publicly. And I really do appreciate the fact that you brought it up, because here we have the opportunity, which we don't have very often, to have provided them with an ambulance, which is expensive, certainly not coming out of our direct pockets, but it's coming out of our federal pockets. And they can't take advantage of it because they're not in compliance and managing their organization properly. So I think this is a great conversation to have, and I appreciate you being so forthright with that.
Council President, I have a follow-up question for BA Levinson.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
BA Levinson, did we require the financial audit for other people who the city gave ARPA funds to, or this is just a requirement for the Plainfield Rescue Squad?
We required for any small businesses and for any money that we gave out to the nonprofits, we required their 501c3 documentation, required all that proof. For small businesses, we required proof, and it went through a whole process of checking all of their documents. For Janellen, we're requiring also the same financial audit information which they give to us freely. Yeah, we have not been doling out money without checking documents.
Okay, so I don't think, I want to be clear, right? My accusation was not that the city was not doing its due diligence. I was just asking if this was a requirement of everyone who received city funds. I also want to be careful about how we characterize the Plainfield Rescue Squad, because they have done great work in this community over its tenure. It has run into some trouble. I think that's not something that members of the Plainfield Rescue Squad would shy against or disagree with, but I want to be careful about how we characterize them and the volunteers who help it run and who continue to answer calls in this city and answer some very dangerous calls and help the residents of this community.
And to be clear, I'm not characterizing them in any way. I think it's a great resource for the community. However, I have been trying to get this document for a year. So I'm just letting you know that that's why we're moving the funds.
Okay. Thank you so much. One second, Councilman McKenna. I believe prior to Councilwoman Davis, I think the mayor was about to say something. Am I wrong, or?
You are absolutely correct, Council President.
Okay.
And I believe that our business administrator has responded to the last comment from Councilor Davis. And we believe that the rescue squad does an excellent job in providing emergency medical services to the community. But we have a responsibility to be good stewards of the public purse. And we will not, under any circumstance, although we lobbied, we begged, we got the county, we convinced the county to donate an ambulance to the rescue squad. That was my administration that did that. And we wanted to take this a step further because we know how critical emergency services are to our city. And we were willing to give 2 ambulances at a cost of over $500,000 to the rescue squad with one simple request. Show us your finances. Let us see why we should give 2 ambulances to you. We had not only our business administrator try to negotiate, request information, we had a third-party auditor request the information. So we cannot, in good faith or conscience, provide $500,000+ to an organization that's not willing to show us their books. And that's the basis for us pulling the funds that we had intended to provide to the rescue squad.
Thank you. Now, do we have a motion on this particular resolution, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
No.
I'm a no.
Okay. Mr. Clark?
Councilman
Please take a roll call.
Davis,
No.
Hockaday,
Yeah.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, resolution passes. Resolution 28422, authorizing approval to cancel and refund the 2022 taxes in the amount of $4,160.24.
Do we have any
Council
questions?
President, motion to combine R 284-22 through R 286-22.
Is there a second on that from Councilman McKenna? Is there a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? It carries. Mr. Clerk, please, 287.
Resolution 28722, authorizing the police department to purchase 2 Ford Police Interceptors.
Council, are there any questions? If not, can we have a
Yes.
motion and a second?
I have a-
Councilwoman Davis has a question.
Thank you. Director Abney, with the purchase of these 2 new interceptors, how close are we, or how close are we, to the goal of updating our fleet of police vehicles?
Well, to use a term that the BA used, it's kind of a moving target. We're a lot better off than we have been in the past. We're pretty much at a point where, with the vehicles that we will get in our next grouping, not including these 2, where we can actually stop running a fleet of vehicles 24/7, 365. We can put into place platoon vehicles where vehicles will run for 4 days and then they'll be down for maintenance for 4 days, so we can make repairs, as opposed to what we do now, where we just run vehicles around the clock until they break down or a service comes up and we can fit it in. So we're getting close, but we're not there yet. And that's just in terms of our regular patrol vehicles. Our unmarked vehicle fleet is in pretty dire straits, and we have to build that up.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion and a second?
I actually have a quick question too for Director Abney.
Mhm.
Where,
Yes, sir.
when is the next batch coming in for the marked vehicles? Not including these 2.
Not including these 2, it depends with supply chain problems, chip shortage, all of that stuff. Once again, it's a moving target. I'm waiting for the bid specs to come out for 2023. Once we have those solid numbers, actually, I think they came in last week. We'll be going over those and we'll be putting out bids for those. So if we purchase them sometime, I guess, before the end of the year, hopefully within 6 months, it's kind of hard to tell right now, sir.
Okay, and where are we? I don't often see unmarked purchases. Where are we? Do we have any purchases in the works for unmarked?
Yes, we have actually 4 vehicles that are coming within a month. They were ordered last year, and
Okay.
we're planning on purchasing quite a few in this next batch. We're in need of quite a few vehicles, so we're purchasing quite a few.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
R 28822, designating certain properties in the city of Plainfield as non-condemnation redevelopment areas.
Any questions? If
Yes.
none, Councilwoman Davis?
Ms. Credidio, what is the plan, or what is the vision for that area? Are we looking to put more apartments there, or or are we just looking to just create a more commercial space? If you could just kind of explain to the public what the vision is for that area.
Sure, Councilwoman, actually, this resolution, in addition to designating the area in accordance with the planning board's recommendation, directs the planning board to prepare that vision for the council's consideration, to go ahead and prepare a redevelopment plan for that area. So I can't speak to, it would be premature for me to speak to the ultimate use, but this is, asking the planning board and the city's planners to begin that process.
Okay, but we do have a document prepared by the Nishawan group talking about that area. Can you just kind of give the public like just an overview of that? Just so they're more understanding, because we have about 156 people on here. And I think sometimes when we talk about redevelopment, there are already preconceived notions, and it always help what's really going to happen.
And maybe we can discuss, we have a few things on tonight. We have 3 separate designations for the council's consideration for this evening. And maybe just for a few moments, generally, a reminder of the process. This governing body identifies property that may meet the criteria under the local redevelopment and housing law. And then your city planner and your planning board together as the experts in land use within the municipality prepare a study. There's a public hearing at the planning board level. All of the property owners receive written notice. There's published notice. They go and participate in this hearing at the planning board. The planning board makes a recommendation with respect to each of the items that are before you this evening for potential consideration as a non-condemnation redevelopment area. Those have all been to planning board. Planning board has made a recommendation that these areas be designated under the statute. The planning board took their memorializing action on that for your reference last Thursday, the Thursday before the submission, August 4th. The next step in the process, and the statute's very careful in separating the 2 pieces between does this property meet the criteria as an area in need of redevelopment? Yes or no? Once we say yes, we think it does. How do we want to ameliorate those conditions? How do we want to improve and revitalize that area? And the statute does that in part so that you don't rush to, well, we're going to designate this because we want to see something. We have a particular idea of something we want to see there. You know, the statute is very careful in separating those 2 pieces so that you're really looking at, is this an area that needs extra help, that is in need of revitalization? Yes. Okay. How do we fix it? How do we make it better? And then we go through the plan process as a separate next step.
And then what happens after that?
So once the plan is prepared by the planner, it's presented to the planning board. They'll make a recommendation to the governing body as to whether that plan should or should not be adopted. It'll come back to this body and it would be adopted like other ordinances with 2 readings and a public hearing. Once that plan is enacted, it creates new zoning for the area that's been designated. And then the municipality can move on with negotiating redevelopment agreements, financial agreements, taking other steps to help revitalize the area. And there are several of those other steps in the process for different areas on your agenda tonight.
And how often do these area need of studies start with a developer? Your scenario ends with a parade and a sales pitch to a developer after both of those statutory elements have been met. But how often does a developer come and say, oh, I'd like to develop here, but X, Y, and Z?
You know, I don't think it's, it happens and it gets generated in different ways. It's kind of organic. There are definitely times when you have people come in and say, I'm interested in this area. I'd like you to look at it. But
it's one of those areas?
Unfortunately, Councilman, I don't have that answer.
Because it's an interesting spot to pick out of all the spots. So interesting. Hopefully that redevelopment plan hasn't started already because we haven't approved this part. So that's, you don't want those statutory things to bump up into each other, right?
Right. You want to look at them separately. Absolutely. You want to consider them separately.
Thank you so much. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
There's all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I'm a no.
Mr. Clark, can I get a roll call on this, please?
Council members Davis,
Yeah.
Hockaday,
Yes.
Kenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed. Resolution passes. Resolution 289-22, authorizing the planning board to conduct an area in need of redevelopment investigation of certain properties in the city of Plainfield.
Are there any questions? I need a motion and a second, please.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Mr. Clerk, roll call on 289, please.
Roll call, Resolution 289. Councilmembers Davis,
No.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
No.
Ms. Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, resolution passes. Resolution 290-22, authorizing a right of entry agreement with TheraTrue New Jersey LLC.
Are there any questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
So this, I believe, is a vacant lot. Are we just allowing a developer to come on that vacant lot and see what's happening here? Is that what this basically is asking for?
Yeah, so the city has been approached as to, the city's the owner of this lot, whether the city would be willing to sell it to this potential developer. And as part of that process, they have requested access to the site to do due diligence, environmental testing, that kind of process, which is a common step before moving forward with purchase on a property.
Thank you.
I need a motion and a second,
Council
please.
President, I just have a quick clarifying question with Ms. Credidio. This is the property that was approved, I'm gonna say June, for cannabis related business that was originally going to be in the P. Paul building that had an issue with the owners of that, so it's moving across the way.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion and a second, please.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, please proceed.
Resolution 291-22, designating certain properties in the city of Plainfield as as non-condemnation redevelopment areas.
Are there any questions? Do we have a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
292-22, also designating certain properties in the city of Plainfield as non-condemnation redevelopment areas.
Any questions?
Motion.
I need a, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstaining?
Aye.
I have
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Davis, did you say no?
I have council members Davis and McKenna voting no.
I did say no.
Do we need a roll call?
You do.
Clerk?
Council
Clerk,
members
ready?
Davis,
No.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
No.
Ms. Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, resolution passes. Resolution 293-22, authorizing the purchase of 4 column lifts from Hoffman Services.
Any questions? I need a motion and a second, please.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any abstaining? If not, motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 294-22, authorizing the purchase of a new John Deere wheel loader.
Council President, a motion to combine R294-22 to R299-22.
Is there a second on Mr. McKenna's motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstaining? It carries. Mr. Clerk?
That was 299, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution 322, authorizing the award of professional services contract to Think Wilder Architecture.
Are there any questions, colleagues?
Just
Yes.
a comment. Oh, ladies first.
So I know that we're going to do like public meetings to get public input on what this building looks like. So is it premature to enter into this agreement with the architectural firm, or yeah, like, is this premature to do that?
No, I don't think so. I think this is good so we can get prepared in case things work our way, so we can move forward with the project. So the pre-design services, a survey, to check the existing condition of the building. So that's, I think it'd be something that's doable.
Okay, I have a follow-up question, and it's either for the mayor or the BA. How soon do we think that we'll start with these meetings to get public input now that we've passed the ordinance to purchase the YMCA building?
I know,
Okay, BA, go ahead.
I was going to say that I know that we have 2 interns from Union County College who are working in economic development and have been charged with figuring out the best way to go about hosting these meetings. And I know that they're actively working on it. So like the mayor said, very soon.
Thank you.
Councilman McKenna, were you?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it on here where the scope of this work includes a survey. Wouldn't you do the survey before you buy the thing? Like most people do?
Is anyone going to answer that?
This is a professional service that they're going to do a survey again to check everything with the building, in addition to what the engineer is going to do in terms of the structural integrity of the building. We're going to make sure everything is right.
This isn't an engineer, this is an architect.
Well, I just said that, but I'm going on with both, Councilman. So the architect's going to do their part in terms of design, extraction, check the survey the property again and see what's going on in terms of all the condition of the property, in addition to what's going to take place from a structural side with the engineer.
And-
Mr. Oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Mr. Wilder joined us when we went to the Piscataway site, and he was able to see, we had a very robust conversation with him for quite a while, and we let him know what we liked, what we didn't like, what our must-haves for us. So he's aware of the general framework of what we want. We just need to give him more specifics as the project goes on in terms of smaller details, like how many community rooms do we want and the size of those rooms. But in terms of some of the bigger picture items, he's very aware of what our must-haves are.
Well, you would know the building pretty well because he designed the last mixed-use residential that was going to go there. So do we have a problem with the resolution not being worded properly, that this guy's providing general sewer engineering services?
I think the updated one was put into IQM2. I believe Director Dabney put it into IQM2 around 5 o'clock.
Around
5 o'clock tonight.
About 4 o'clock. Yes, about 4 o'clock.
It was 4.
So you should have an updated version.
I didn't have it at 4. I was busy trying to open the 7 attempts to send me the appraisal. So I never saw it. And I don't typically go back into IQM because who's going to know when it's updated? Why don't you just send it in an email?
Thank you. So do we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Mr. Clerk?
Council members Davis,
No.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, resolution passes. Resolution 30122, authorizing the award of a professional services contract to Remington and Vernick engineers.
Ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions? If not, I need a motion and a second, please.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
No.
abstaining? Mr. Clerk, please.
Council members Davis,
No.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, resolution's been adopted. Resolution 30222, authorizing approval for a lien placement for property cleanup.
Council President, motion to combine R 302-22 through R 307-22.
Is there a second on Councilman McKenna's motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstaining? Okay, motion carries. And we will now move to an introduction of ordinances on our first reading. We now come to.
Council President?
Like Abby wanted to say something.
I have a point of order. We were going to pull, I believe Director Brown was going.
R 307-20. Council President, we're going to pull.
307-22.
Right.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
I was right. So I was going to request that we remove R 307-22 for consideration.
It's passed.
So
Why are we pulling?
now that it's passed, what happens here?
Motion to reconsider.
And why are we reconsidering?
Because there's some structural parts of the resolution that are inaccurate and should not have been put forward.
So
I make a motion to reconsider.
consider R 307-22.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
You seconded, Councilman Hockaday seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposing? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
So is the next step now to table or remove this ordinance? I mean, this resolution?
Correct.
Since we did motion to reconsider?
Correct.
Okay, so are we looking to
Motion
remove or table?
I'm looking to remove.
To remove it altogether, we're not tabling, Director Brown?
No, we're removing it.
Okay,
I'm requesting that it be removed.
so is there a motion to remove it? Go
Mr.
ahead.
President.
Go ahead,
Mr. President.
Councilwoman. Go ahead. Councilwoman Joy Mills.
I just want to ask, maybe the clerk, isn't a reconsideration supposed to come from someone on the prevailing side?
Everybody voted in favor of it, so everybody's.
Oh, they did. I thought I heard two people going no. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
But you are correct.
Listen. Yeah, no, okay.
So it's hereby removed.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk, so we're good, right?
Yes.
It's in your hands. First reading. MC 2022-37.
37 or 38?
37.
37.
Okay, MC 2022-37 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with 110 through 120 West 6th Street Urban Renewal LLC and granting a tax exemption with respect to certain properties identified on the city's tax map. It's block 705, lot 102, and designated the city's tax records as 110 through 20 West 6th Street, Plainfield, New Jersey, formerly known as 107 through 109 West 5th Street.
Council colleagues, are there any questions on the floor? I'll entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Councilman McCray, seconded. Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
In the affirmative.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed. Ordinance has been introduced on first reading.
Moving on.
MC 2022-38 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, amending ordinance MC 2017-36 and authorizing the execution of a First Amendment financial agreement with Muhlenberg Urban Renewal LLC with respect to certain property identified as a portion of block 13, lot 3803, otherwise known as the site of the former Muhlenberg Hospital.
Council colleagues, you have the floor if there are any questions.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis, you have the floor.
So just to clarify, are we transferring the pilot for only a portion of this property, or is it like the whole Randolph and the medical mall that we're just transferring the pilot to a new owner. Can you just kind of just explain that?
Of course. As you might be aware, there's a small outbuilding on the same property as the larger hospital building. And that building is sometimes called Building 23. The developer refers to it as Condo Unit 3, but it's a portion of, it's going to be used for medical purposes. It's a portion of the medical component under the existing agreement. So the developer was originally in discussions to lease that portion of the site to Rutgers University. In their conversations, Rutgers preferred to purchase rather than lease, especially since it was sort of self-contained in this, separate building. And this ordinance would allow that transfer to take place. So exactly, Councilwoman, it's only a portion of the medical component that would be transferred.
Okay, so just a clarifying follow-up question. So we're transferring the pilot to Rutgers University?
Correct. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So are they like not a nonprofit institution? Like, how does that work with like?
So that's a great point. You'll see there's a condition in the ordinance, and it's going to be also a condition in the amendment and a condition in the assignment that the consent is only so long as Rutgers agrees to pay the pilot, land taxes, administrative fee, and all other payments that would be due under the financial agreement as if they were not a nonprofit entity. Because, obviously that's very important to the municipality that they continue to receive the pilots that are expected to be received by the city. But also we do have bonds that the city has issued for this project, and a portion of the pilot payments are paid over to the bondholders. So for both of those reasons, the city has insisted, and Rutgers has cheerfully agreed that they will make the payments under the documents.
Thank you. So I just want to be clear that while this is a nonprofit and generally we wouldn't, if I'm correct, we wouldn't get any tax money from them. We're going to still get payments that go towards the city of Plainfield.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, I just wanted that to reflect so members of the public who were on also knew that and understood that. Thank you.
I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
I had a question, actually, Council President. Mr. Credidio, just point of clarification, we're approving, you can give me we're approving transfer from the original developer from one of their entities to another legal entity. And then we're also approving the legal transfer from that entity to the Rutgers entity. But just for the record, the original transfer, it's already taken place, correct? We somehow were not brought into the loop on that, so we're having to do it backwards, backdated.
Just as soon as we were notified, we brought it forth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe it was a motion.
It was seconded.
Mr. Clerk, we need a roll call, please.
I apologize. I did not get that motion in second.
So moved.
And I believe Councilman McCray seconded.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday.
Voting in the affirmative.
Thank you, sir. Councilman McKenna,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Certainly.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on, this ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
2022-39, Mr. Clerk.
C 2022-39 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union authorizing the execution of an amended and restated financial agreement with SWE Plainfield Development Urban Renewal LP and granting a tax exemption with respect to certain properties identified on the city's tax map as block 233, lots 2, 3, 7, and 12 on the official tax map of the city of Plainfield and identified in the city's tax records respectively as 611 through 19 West Front Street, 605 through 609 West Front Street, 118 through 120 Plainfield Avenue, and 115 through 33 Waynewood Park.
Are there any questions from the council? I'm entertaining a motion to adopt this ordinance on the first reading.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Clerk?
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Affirmative.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed. Ordinance has been introduced on first reading. Ordinance MC 2022-40 is an ordinance amending the schedule of salaries and wages adopted pursuant to Article 14, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1971, Plainfield Municipal Management Association, PMMA, Salary Amendment Number 1.
Questions?
Just a comment and not even a big deal. Just when we do this on second reading, can we just put commas in the places that they should go? So we're clear that these are different positions and they're not all the same position. Just, you know, a little grammar policing here,
A little editing.
that part.
I'm entertaining a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Craig, seconded. Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Council members Davis,
yes.
Hockaday,
Affirmative.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes, sir.
It's unanimous or has been introduced on first reading. MC 2022-41 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Section 6 by placing the Division of Recreation under the supervision of the Business Administrator, amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Section 13 and 14 by removing the Division of Recreation from the supervision of the Department of Public Works, creating Chapter 2, Article 10, Section 7 and 8 to place the Division of Parking Utility under the supervision of the Economic Development Department, and amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Section 17 and 18 by removing the Division of Parking from the supervision of the Department of Public Works.
I think you should say that again, Mr. Clerk. Any questions from the council, please?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
BA Levinson, are there any other municipalities who have a similar reporting structure as the one that we are looking to have?
In terms of which section?
Both.
This municipality and their charter are very specific to this municipality. I have to say that in the municipality I was in before, you know, Plainfield has its own separate charter, which is very unusual and special to Plainfield. So I'm not aware of anyone else who has anything similar in many ways.
The perks of having a special charter, I guess. I think my only concern with these changes is when we look to future administrations or we look to future, you know, councils, and with this change, how does this affect the maintenance of public spaces? Right now, under Public Works, it's a very tight team. I know not only from my experience on the council, but from personal experience working with Director Dabney and seeing how well the different divisions work under his scope. I think my only concern is when there is a different director, how all of that works and how the priority of maintenance works. And that's just my only real concern. I think that for this administration, this may work fine, but it's just about future administrations when it comes to recreation reporting directly to the BA and not to the Director of Public Works, because they work in concert together on so many areas. My only concern about the parking utility going to the Director of Economic Development is kind of like, and we talked about this earlier, like a check and balance system of the parking utility having to be a revenue generator and be self-sustaining, but then the Director of Economic Development really being more about planning and about what looks good and maybe taking away parking spaces when the utility needs that to be self-sustaining.
So what I would say to that is it's important to remember that all of these department heads report directly to the business administrator. So they're not operating in a vacuum. And so the business administrator would be the direct supervisor of both the Department of Public Works director, as well as the Recreation Division. So the business administrator would work to collaborate those divisions, those departments as necessary. They're both reporting into the same entity. And then in terms of economic development, it's a similar answer, because the budget starts and ends with the business administrator and the finance director, and then to the mayor. So the business administrator has the responsibility to make sure that the parking utility is a self-sustaining entity. And so, that's always going to be their concern and on their agenda and being reviewed. And so, I don't see it being a conflict.
Okay, that's fine. I'll support this ordinance. I mean, listen, when I'm wrong or when I am not sure about things and they turn out better than I expect, I always give kudos where kudos are due. So if you're saying that this is going to work out and this is the best structure for the city today and moving forward, I believe you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Mayor, go right ahead, sir.
I should also add, in terms of the questions raised by Councilor Davis, that we believe this structure is best for the times that we're in and as we seek to move forward. Parking aligns very well with economic development, and there have been so many conversations about parking as it relates to economic development, and we believe that that's the perfect fit for parking. And in terms of recreation, as you know, we have just placed a significant amount of additional responsibility upon the director of DPW. And so we are moving to a structure that we believe will be both efficient and effective, thereby allowing each director to function at his or her maximum level of capability.
Thank you, sir. That being said, entertaining a motion to adopt this ordinance on its first reading. I believe Councilman Hockaday moved it. Who seconded?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, please roll call.
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Affirmative.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
yes,
Council President Good.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed. This ordinance has been introduced. Good. First reading.
2022-42. Clerk.
MC 2022-42 is an ordinance to amend section 5:10-3GH1 renewal of dog license for cats, license regulations of the Plainfield Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield.
Are there any questions from the council?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Director Brown, this ordinance says that there's a $1 late fee. Is this a flat fee or does this $1 accumulate daily?
It's a flat fee.
So what is preventing people from getting their dog license late?
So we use the fee structure that the state gives us. So basically we're following what the state does.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on its first reading, and I'll need a second, please.
So moved.
Mr. Clerk, I'm not sure if the cats are going to be happy about this, but go ahead.
I didn't get it. Who get a second?
Yeah, who was second?
second,
I need a roll call.
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Affirmative.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
yes,
Council President Good.
Yes, sir.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been introduced on first reading. Ordinance MC 2022-43, an ordinance to amend section 5:1 8, renewal of license for dogs of the Plainfield Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, revise Article 1:115, Section B, fees for dog license.
Any comments from the council?
I just have one question. Why don't we give, so it's a 1 year and a 3 year. Why don't we give a discount for the 3 year versus the 1 year? So they get the 3 year and then they're not coming in and we don't have all the commotion and paperwork and process and cost associated with.
Well, first, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, we follow the model that the state lays out for us. So we have to abide by what they do. But I do recognize what you're asking.
I checked with them. They allow you to discount.
We have to check into that because it's when Dr. Nazir checked, we were not given a discount, but I can find out.
I mean, they may have changed it a long time ago, but
Yeah.
I had sent you information on this a couple years ago and they had said that there was wiggle room for motivating 3 year licenses. But thanks, that'd be great if you could.
Sure.
Entertaining a motion to adopt this this ordinance on its first reading, and I'll need a second as well.
How could they move in?
Second.
Mr. Clerk.
Council members Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Affirmative.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
This ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
General comments, a total of 60 minutes has been allocated for all public comments to be presented. Each speaker will be allotted 5 minutes. If you wish to be heard, please hit the hand icon to be recognized and you will be unmuted. Once you have been unmuted, give your name and your address for the record. Again, each speaker will be allotted 5 minutes. The floor is now open. Michelle, your name and address for the record, please. Can you unmute?
Hello,
Yes, there we go. Good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
my name is Michelle Judkins. My address is 356 Emerson Avenue. I did not realize that my hand was up,
That's okay. That's all right.
so I had no comment for this evening, but since I'm unmuted, I'll still comment on still trying to get a handicap sign for my husband in front of the house. I realize that you do have an ordinance. I think the ordinance should be looked into to see if it can be revised for special situations. I spoke about it the last meeting. And that'll be it for this evening.
Two residents haven't had that.
Yep,
Two of the residents haven't had that.
thank you.
You're welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining us this evening. Mr. Buckman, your name and address for the record, please. Mr. Buckman, you're muted.
Hi, I'm sorry. I did not realize my hand. Didn't realize my hand was up either.
That's okay. Good evening. You're muted again. You're muted again.
He said he didn't, his hand was up.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think he intended to talk.
Okay. Mary Burwinkle, your name and address again for the record, please.
Hi, Mary Burwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane. I have one very respectful thing to say to the business administrator. I am like in my 70s and my hearing is not the best, and she should listen to herself on a recording because she sounds like she's at the end of a very long tunnel. It is very hard to hear you. And I'm wondering perhaps somebody in IT can help you fix that or wherever you are, but you have a very muffled sound on people's computers, and I can hear everybody else. It's just not you, and that very respectfully. So I just thought I'd point that out. And my second thing I wanted to say is that I thought it was interesting that Councilwoman Davis talked about having the economic development director head of the parking administration. I think that that is like having a fox in the hen house. And I think that having the economic development director being able to kick off members of the HPC if this amendment passes is also like having a fox in the hen house, because the economic development director, I mean, it says administration, not economic development director in the amended ordinance for the HPC, but I'm jumping to the conclusion that who else in the administration would want to fire people from the HPC, right? So I think that people from the economic development group or the planning group should not be able to kick off people on the citizen watchdogs who are there to try to administer the statute. And I strongly oppose that section of the Historic Preservation Code. And I think for the same reason, a ton of parking questions are given to the economic development director all the time. And she deals with developers who don't, it's expensive to do parking, it's expensive to maintain it. Everybody wants to just do the minimum under the government reservation. So I don't know how that would interface with, collecting money and reporting it, but I would just like to suggest that I think both of those things are possible codes of ethics violations, and it would be better if that wouldn't happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Burwinkle. Ms. Pewar, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, record. Yeah, Nancy Pewar, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. I hope that this comment is taken in the spirit of caring, but I noticed that one council person is not on the meeting tonight. It's none of my business about why, but if nobody has heard from her, I would ask somebody to respectfully reach out, because of what's going on in this country. The absence of someone, people should care enough to see that they're okay. Okay, that's all I'm asking, is that someone reach out and make sure that there's not anything wrong. Not that I know anything is wrong, but just in light of everything going on in this country, I would feel comfortable to know my councilwoman is okay.
Ms.
All right?
Pewar, for the record, she's okay. And I'm pretty sure she would appreciate your concern.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you. I just want to make sure that somebody heard from her, that's all.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank you.
Okay, as far as Resolution 27722, I appreciate the Ellen and River Road Rescue Squad for caring about our town. I did see River Road drive down West Front Street on Sunday afternoon. It's the first time I ever saw them here, but I do appreciate that. My question is, have anybody ever kept any statistics about how many ambulance calls have been generated for Plainfield since Muhlenberg has been closed? Because that would be an interesting statistic to find out if there's been an increase in service calls. I don't believe that statistics are really kept by the Department of Health. That would be an interesting statistic to see, so that you can measure in the future what you need, what needs to be done, and how much money to budget. As many of you know, I'm a process person, and MC 2022-38, which regards to Muhlenberg, and the possible use by Rutgers as a behavioral health unit use. Does anybody know if there has to be a certificate of need for this new use or not? Does the Department of Health have to have hearings like they had for Muhlenberg? I'm not sure. I'm just asking that question because if so, then the process needs to be followed. And I appreciate Ms. Credidio explaining about the pilot and the agreement. However, it still is confusing to me as a citizen, because she's saying, from what I understood, unless I misunderstood her, they will be paying the pilot in the pilot agreement and the money. So the taxpayers are going to be paying for the pilot, because Rutgers is funded by the taxpayers of the state in a lot of ways. So it's just another way to, you know, use our tax dollars. May not be city tax dollars, but it's going to be state tax dollars to pay. The other question I had, and it's a concern, and a council members, West End Avenue on Sundays. I appreciate the city going around and marking the yellow lines and putting up new signs. There needs to be a new new no parking sign on West End Avenue. It's old and it's deleted, and people are inappropriately parking next to the stop sign in the entrance to Greenbrook Park. And there also needs to be yellow lines. The traffic down there is horrendous. I also want to commend the county because today they did respond back to me when I notified them over the weekend that a tree had fallen across the Greenbrook. And I was concerned that when we finally do get rain, that it could cause backup and some flooding. And they said that they have put in a work order to take care of that tree, and they appreciated the fact that I monitor the brook for them in the Greenbrook Park area. But I would respectfully request the city take a look. Traffic on West End Avenue on a Sunday, people park on the bridge, which is not supposed to happen. They park too close to the stop sign, and a no parking sign needs to be replaced right near the first house on West End Avenue out of the park. I feel bad for the owner of that property. I don't know how they get in and out of their driveway every weekend. It's a disaster, and I appreciate the city doing whatever they can to alleviate that issue. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. I think, and I'm hard of hearing too in one ear, and I know MC 20-22-34, the Y, I thought I heard 5-2, but I think it was supposed to be 4-2, unless I'm mistaken. But I could have misheard it, but I thought I heard someone say 5-2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pure. Have a good night. Mr. Michelson, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening again. William
Good evening.
Michelson, 556 Belvedere Avenue, Chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission. I'd like to revisit the amendments to the Historic Preservation Ordinance, which was 2022-35. And I'm probably not going to be here next month, so I guess I have to say what I want to say now. This did not occur to me until just this afternoon when I was getting myself organized for this discussion. All of the amendments look to me like somebody advised Corporation Counsel, everything that's in the existing ordinance that's not the same as what 100 other towns in New Jersey do, get rid of them, make the ordinance pretty much the same as what happens everywhere else. Plainfield is not like them. First of all, we are the third largest historic preservation system in New Jersey, and it is a vital piece of the health of this city. Secondly, we have a special charter. There are a lot of things that are conceivably different here on a legal basis than might be the case in nearby towns. And the one that leapt out to me is the proposal to let the administration remove a member of the HPC for cause. You can't do that. The special charter at section 2.8B specifically says only the council has that authority. 30 years ago, a case out of Plainfield became the binding authority in New Jersey when the Superior Court Appellate Division ruled exactly that, with the question of our planning board requiring advice and consent of the council, even though in most towns that is not required. I have another concern about the basic legality of what I see here, and that's the removal of cases that require HPC approval, but are also going to be before the zoning or planning boards. Here too, our hands are somewhat tied by the municipal land use law, but even aside from that, it would be terrible policy to take the HPC out of that equation. We do so much to improve proposals, and I don't really see any negative. I will concede, though, we've had some discussions about.
You don't really give me any problems.
Excuse me?
Not really.
We've had some discussions about how to streamline the process. That's fine with me, but nobody has come to either me or the commission to discuss either that or various other perceived issues. Two of the items I see would do away with our architectural review committee and with informational meetings. These have been extremely successful measures that make the process easier, faster, and typically cheaper for a lot of applicants who need our approval, but don't really have issues that would cause anybody to quarrel with them. So I don't think that change should be made. City property, we've had a section for 20 years that when the city or its agencies want to do proposals, want to do projects of some kind that are in the historic districts, that the city applies to us the same as a private owner would do, except there's no fee. Here too, I just think that has worked so well for so long. Why would anybody want to change it? We had a really good example of it just last year with the intersection at Hillside and Prospect Avenues. I don't take the credit. I think Drew DeSessa, our city engineer, deserves the credit. But the point was, it was before the commission, and we got the chance to step in and wait until a good proposal was there. There's a problem I'm also concerned about. We did a master plan, I think 3-4 years ago, and a large historic preservation element was written for it. In fact, my element was written before any of the others. And I didn't know this for a long time, but when the planning board adopted the master plan, they simply left out the historic preservation section. You can't do that. It violates the MLUL about the master plan process, and it leaves all of our zoning vulnerable because the city has not gone along with part of the process. Well, now I think I know why. Somebody wants the HPC out of the picture as much as possible.
Mr. President, the speaker's time is up.
Mr. Michelson, thank you so much. We appreciate your comments. Moving right along, Brenda Gilbert, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Your name and address for the record. Yes, your name and address. Yes, we can. Your name and address for the record, please.
1208 East Front Street.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored and deeply loved. And how are all of you?
We're good.
All righty. All right, I'm gonna try to get through my little list kind of quick here. One question I have is, when is the council meeting going to return to in-person meetings? I want to know that. I want to know if there's been a density study done for the city of Plainfield. I'd like to know if there's a certified planner or otherwise involved in all the building of the apartment buildings that's going on in the city. With the ambulance, I hope that whatever the issues are with the ambulance, that even though there's been a change in what's going to happen with them or how you're going to deal with them, I hope that the hands are not taken off the ambulance, that there is still efforts being put in to help the ambulance. For a number of years, the Plainfield ambulance has had trouble, and it really seems like nobody has really got in there to really, help them move. They're all volunteers. Nobody is, a professional, whatever the case may be. So maybe there really needs to be somebody to go in there and give a structure, a good structure for them to follow, and then maybe things will get a little better with them. The YMCA. I'm not going to go into a long conversation about the YMCA, but I am going to ask that, would you all consider having a meeting and hear from the citizens in the community what they might like to see happen with the YMCA before anything is done? this might be a chance of a lifetime and a chance of a lifetime, needs to have all of our voices heard. It doesn't need to have just one voice heard, and that's the city council. The Historic Commission. This seems once again an effort to abbreviate, modify, or mute citizens' voices about certain things that are going on in the city. We need to be heard. We need to be heard on whatever you're doing, whether like it or not. We need to be heard. Director Dabney, I'm asking once again, and I know that you did get my complaint. I know you did because I know who I gave it to, about the traffic after 11 more patrols need to be seen about the traffic from Leland and East Front to Terra Road, dealing with the noise ordinance, because there's a lot of motorcycles and gas mufflered vehicles. They make a lot of noise going through here. They think this is a racing strip. And you see the noise all day long, but like 7 o'clock at night, also because the roosters that I'm hearing, I haven't heard it. So I'm thinking that my complaint about them have been high. So thank you so much. I haven't been wicked by them.
Is Miss Gilbert chopping anyone else but me?
No, it's me too. Miss Gilbert, are you there? She's gone. She's gone. Was it just us, Councilwoman, or did everybody hear her
No,
chopping
I
up?
think she's had a bad network wherever she was. She was losing signal and she dropped out completely off of the meeting.
Yeah, I did.
Me too.
Okay, we're sorry about that. Maybe she'll jump back in. Captain Lowe, good evening. Your name and address for the record. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, I gotta apologize for the deception here, guys. It's not Captain Lowe, it's actually President Lowe.
Mr. President, how are you?
I'm doing well. I have to correct a few things. So what we have here is I understand that there are some things, and this goes out to Abby Levinson, that we missed on in terms of communication. I'm not very good at that, and I will not lie to you or anybody on this council. We had found some really deep stuff that we had to get into that had to be done. I understand your positions, and I won't even go into that any further. But I do understand where you stand at. In terms of River Road, all right, I have to take a breath on that one because River Road doesn't even cover Piscataway. River Road helps Denellen, back up Denellen. But for a while, we have Denellen on our mutual aid. So what was happening was Denellen actually subletted River Road to come in for us. Now, that's their right to do. I mean, they can do it, but our mutual aid agreement was with Denellen. Now, in terms of the calls, I understand. I heard this, and forgive me, for feeling a little upset about this, but this is, I feel, is a fact. These guys at this squad we don't miss calls purposely. We do not. None of the calls that come into Plainfield, if we miss a call, it's because we're not in Plainfield. We're not in Plainfield. We're at one of the many hospitals. This is not back in the day when Muhlenberg was around the corner and we can go to Muhlenberg and come right back. That's not how it happens. Each ride that we take takes no less than 15 to 20 minutes for a turnaround. Our dispatchers will actually hold a call until we get out. And the reason being is because they don't have any buses to send into Plainfield. So I feel as though that's a slight being put on us that we're out missing calls. That's not what we do. And I'll leave that at that. My crews here work very hard. They come in, they literally do no less than 12 to 15 calls a day. Okay, so to say that there's been a problem for years of us missing calls because of personnel, I got to disagree with that. I've been here for the last 10 years, and these guys have been putting themselves on the line. When anything comes out, they're there. And the other thing is that what happens is that we also, in terms of the community, and I don't know if River Road can provide this or not, maybe you can ask them, but the fact is that anytime there's an event or a festival, we're there. We make sure that we're there because we're part of the community, and that's what we do. The other thing that I want to say is that as far as, and my crew is giving me a whole list here, but I'm not going to hold you up to that. But we do have it 24 hours. We're here 24 hours. Sometimes the trucks go down. We do have 3 trucks. And I want to say this to all the councilmen. I do appreciate the fact that we was able to get the county truck in here. But I will say this as well. I just bought 2 trucks. So we have 3 trucks in total. Okay, so we have, at times, we put 2 trucks out there when we have the members. And for those who may not understand the emergency service world, there is a shortage of EMTs across the board. We are blessed enough to have the most to get our trucks on the road. But most of the, in the EMS world, there's a shortage of EMTs. Okay, and at one time, just to put a number out there, and I think Ms. Davis actually said it already, in 1 year, with 1 truck, we did 7,000 calls, and we were only second to Baltimore. So I feel a slight and understand why when it's put on my EMTs that they're out missing calls and that the city has had problems with EMS. We go to everything from Band-Aids to gunshot wounds. We are there. And we do it in such a way that we do in a very professional manner. Now, again, I don't know River Road, if they can handle the dynamics of what Plainfield has to offer. I'm not really sure, and I won't even say that, but I know what we do. So before y'all go further on and say that that we are slight in taking care of our community, I just want to clarify that. Yes, I have my
Hi, my name is Rolene. I'm the new appointed vice.
Council President, the speaker's time's up.
Thank you, Captain Lowe. We appreciate you taking the time out. And I'd like to say that we appreciate all that you and your squad do. So thank you so much for joining us. Mike Bell, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Michael Bell. I live at 130 Emerson Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening, all council people. Members of the City Council, the Plainfield Fires Mutual Benevolent Association Local 7, in conjunction with the IAFF Local 5034, the associations who represent your firefighters and fire officers, are here before you to address our concerns with recent changes made by our Fire Director Childress, which have reduced the services of the Plainfield Fire Department and impacted the safety of the residents and visitors of the city. Since July 13th of this year, Director Childress has ordered Engine Company 3 closed, which is stationed on the west end of town. This engine, which serves the west side of the city, was replaced with Squad 1, which is responsible for rescue services citywide. The FMBA and IAFF immediately expressed our concerns to the director, trying to solve this problem in-house, and we were met with a wall. We told him that this move would endanger residents, and the only response we received was this was managerial prerogative and would not be discussed further. By closing Engine 3 and relocating Squad 1, residents on the west end of town are more likely not to have an engine nearby. Also, residents who are trapped in their vehicles after vehicle accidents or in buildings after collapse will need to wait longer for the specialized resources, as it is no longer located in the middle of the city at fire headquarters. This means at least 15 minutes response time to the east side of the city for this specialized piece of apparatus, which is the only one we have, that has specialized rescue equipment. Now, we would love to be able to show proof of this. However, the way the fire department records on scene times is consistently inaccurate, with most, if not all, responding apparatus being marked on scene at the same time, regardless of where they were coming from and when they arrived. Tragically, on July 17th, Lisbeth Del Carmen Amaya was killed in a fire on North Avenue. While we cannot say for sure that had the fire department had all 3 engine companies in service that night, we would have been able to use, for us to save Elizabeth, she would have been found sooner than we did. After this incident, a new directive was issued saying that the closing of engine 3 would continue. The unions were also told this closure was because of overtime. However, these were true. The why on days where there was adequate staffing with no overtime was engine 3 not put back in service. If you didn't understand that, we had all members that could have had engine 3 in service without calling overtime, and we were denied. We can show on multiple occasions where the staffing was there without overtime and engine 3 was not returned to service. After this tragic event, the union is again attended to speak with the mayor, the fire director, and the business administrator. During this meeting, we were met once again with adversarial nature from the fire director, while all we were attempting to do was come up with a solution for ensure the best possible service for the residents. During this meeting, the fire director 17 times stated that this decision was in his prerogative and would not be discussed further, also making comments such as if he wanted firefighters to respond to calls in taxis instead of fire trucks, he could do so. The standard of operating procedure for the fire department lay out how we fight fires, and they call for 3 engines, a truck company and a squad company, and a battalion chief. We are bringing these issues before you tonight as we believe the residents have the right to know when their safety is being jeopardized. We're asking you, the members of the council, to investigate the actions of your fire director and urge the administration to do the right thing to make sure all residents and visitors of the city are safe. I also urge you to take a minute to think about the responsibility we have as firefighters. We took the oath to protect the city and property of Plainfield. And for us not to have adequate staff due to a dollar amount, that question goes out to our director and the mayor. Is a life worth $1? Because that's what you have to explain to families when we lose people. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, we appreciate your comment. I would like to ask a question later, so hopefully you'll hang around for my question. I am concerned about that. But thank you so much and have a good night. We'll move right along to Holly A. Thank you for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Holly Algio, member of Grace Church, resident of Edison.
Good evening.
Member for 30 plus years and previous resident. I grew up in Plainfield. I want to address the ordinance, bear with me, regarding the HPC amendment. Section 1710-13. You are taking out the clause that states it is recognized that the intent and purposes of this article would not be fully served if the city were to control the actions of others but fail to apply similar constraints to itself. And this is in regards to the certificate of appropriateness, which you are taking out of the hands of the HPC and putting it into your own hands by stating that the appropriateness will not be required before final approval of any city actions. What makes you think that you have the expertise to do this? Isn't this the commission's job? Why are you taking the powers of the commission out of their hands? I would prefer that you fold the HPC rather than to usurp their powers and render the public powerless to fight you by making it impossible for us to appeal to the state to contend with you. You are creating a puppet commission powerless to act of its own accord. I also want to say that you don't play fair. This is not fair play. I also want to say that the fourth ward is loaded with beautiful and well-built historical houses that were built in the 1920s. Plainfield probably has the highest number of historical houses than most any city in America. What is the HPC doing to make the blocks that would qualify for a fourth ward historic district? You are missing the boat on this one. It's an amazing neighborhood. And that's all I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comment. Laura Brown, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I apologize. You caught me mid-bite in my dinner. My name is
Good
Laura Miranda
good
Brown,
evening.
and I live at 1345 Highland Avenue. I wanted to say thank you to DPW and the police department. We had a tree fall down right near our house on a Saturday afternoon, and I was able to call, and very quickly an officer came out and put up cones and took care of it. And he very kindly then left a note for DPW, noting that the tree was there and that only half the tree had fallen and that it was in danger of falling on a nearby home. And DPW was out first thing Monday morning and they took care of it. And it was really lovely and a pleasure working with everyone. And I also wanted to note that the phone tree for the non-emergency telephone line at the police department does not seem to work with newer telephones. I tried getting through multiple times. The phone tree just kept restarting, saying press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. It wouldn't let me move beyond that. I had to use my husband's much older telephone, and then it would recognize the tone. So I don't know if anybody else is running into this issue, but I thought I should bring that up. And lastly, I just wanted to comment, I'm the mother of 3 children under 5 years old. We moved to this city because it is beautiful. The neighborhood that we live in is diverse. Our neighbors are all friendly and helpful. And I am just saddened that we are going to use $5 million of our dollars on a building that is going to require a tremendous amount of work to remediate and to repair and to bring it to compliance with modern standards, when those $5 million could be used in so many other ways, whether it's playgrounds, whether it's bike lanes, whether it's pools. It just saddens me. While I would love a community center and my children would love a community center, I really would love one that didn't come at a, many millions of dollars additional spend beyond what we are even discussing. So thank you very much for your consideration this evening and have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Brown. Good evening, Sharice. I'm assuming Kuntz. If I'm not correct, please forgive me. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. It is Sharice Kuntz, 141 McKinley Place. I didn't think I needed to put my last name. I thought you knew it would be me, Sharice.
And I did.
141 McKinley Place. Good evening, everyone. I actually joined the meeting a little late, so I missed the first part of the meeting when you were talking about ordinances on first reading consideration. I just have a comment on 2 of the ordinances. That's MC 2022-31, and that is the 4-way stop sign. I believe that's going to be around the Spooner Avenue area. I am an advocate for the 4-way stop signs. I think that they are good at slowing down traffic. We did get a new 4-way stop sign here at Johnston and 2nd Street, and it has slowed the traffic down a bit. One thing I think that was helpful when those signs were put there was that there was signage to kind of introduce it and let folks know that it was coming. So I would just encourage, as we're starting to put these stop signs on Spooner or wherever they're going, I think it's on 4th and Spooner and 3rd and Spooner, that there is signage to let the traffic know that there's going to be a new pattern, because I did see some chatter on one of the social media groups about a 4-way stop sign that was put, I believe, on Watchung Avenue. And it was, it was said, and I don't travel that area, that there was not any signage in the beginning. So I would just say, just caution you to make sure that there is signage to let folks know that things are changing. My next one was MC 2022-33, and that is the redevelopment on the property at 200-216 Garfield Avenue. And that is actually, I mean, I can look at out my kitchen window and see that corner there. And I'm glad to see that there is a redevelopment plan, being discussed for that area. But I would also say that that is just one corner in that area, and all four corners could use some redevelopment. I'm not sure if any of you travel that area, but if we're going to put something, if we're looking at redeveloping one corner there, need to look at the other three, because they could use a little help as well. So that is it, and thank you guys for your time tonight. I know these have been some long meetings, and appreciate all of your efforts on from the council and all of those who sit here. So I think you guys are doing a great job. I don't envy the seats that you sit in, but you're doing a great job. I know a lot of times you'll probably just hear people complain about what you're doing, and your efforts are appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coons. Have a good night. Ray Costello, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. It's Ray Costello, and it's 215 East 9th Street, Plainfield. It's in the Crescent Historic District.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to bring up three things in relation to MC 2022-35, the changes to the HPC ruling. I just want to make it known, and I said this in the last meeting, that I moved to Plainfield a year and a half ago with my wife because they had a very strong historic preservation commission. I love Plainfield. I think there's a lot of diversity. I appreciate that your city council listens to the people. So my second point comes up in terms of, should we actually undermine what seems to be working pretty well? It seems like we're taking out some of the effectiveness of the HPC by not allowing them to issue permits. And I think they've been doing a great job, and now we're like whittling away at what they do for whatever reason, which I'm not sure why we even need to do that. So that we end up sort of undermining what has worked well in the past. And then from the reading of the New Jersey state law, this is the third point, it almost sounds like we could be in violation of what the New Jersey land use laws regarding historic sites provide for, because it does sound like the HPC has the right to issue permits, and the city can't just overrule that. And that's what I wanted to say, and I think you really need to reconsider that and look again at that ordinance. And thank you for your time. I appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Have a good night. May. Good evening. Your name and address for the record, please. You're muted. Please unmute yourself. May, unmute yourself so we can hear you. If you can hear us, please unmute yourself.
I've sent a request multiple times. I'll skip over to the next person.
Thank you. Mrs. Gilbert, because you were having some technical difficulties and you were cut off, we're going to permit you to finish saying what you were saying. And right now you're muted. So can you unmute yourself?
Okay. I'm unmuted.
Yes.
You can hear me. I don't
Yes,
even
I
know
can.
where I stopped at.
I wish I could help you on that, but I've been hearing so many.
I know that's right.
But go ahead and
May
see
I
if you
have
can pick up where
permission to start all over because I don't know where you left off from hearing me, but I'll try to be very quick.
Mhm.
May I do that?
Please go right ahead.
Okay, I'll start from the top again. The council meeting, my question was, when is that going to return to an in-person council meeting? The YMCA, I was asking that if further conversation was to take place about the YMCA, that citizen comments would be solicited about the project because maybe we have some ideas that might be valuable to the project and somebody maybe hasn't thought about it. So I would appreciate it if that would happen. I asked if a density study had been done for the city of Plainfield. I also asked if there's a certified planner and or otherwise involved with all the building of the apartment complexes that are going on around. I talked about the rescue squad, and I was asking that whatever has gone on, hopefully you will not take your hands off the rescue squad, that you will continue to work with them and maybe get in there and see if they're having some problems that you might be able to help with. Um, the historic commission, that to me seems like the citizens' voices are once again being abbreviated, modified, or muted altogether. Director Dabney, I was asking that hopefully he might be able to increase patrols between East Front Street and Leland Avenue and East Front Street and Terra Road. After 11 o'clock, there seems to be a lot of traffic in terms of motorcycles and glass muffled cars and hyped up cars and all of that. And they seem to think that this is a raceway. It happens really all day long, but mostly after 11 o'clock. And it gets to be really horrible because I know that there's a noise ordinance, and I think if 2 or 3 of them are jammed up there, maybe that might stop. I also wanted to thank Director Dabney because I believe he is the reason why the last 2 days I have not heard the rooster and the chickens. I called and made a complaint about the rooster and the chickens last week. And so Sunday and today, I have not heard the good old rooster and the chickens because they cock-a-doodle-doo all day long. And it's annoying. It really is annoying. And I know some people have a problem with it, but the city of Plainfield is not a farm. Okay, and they knew that when they bought the little mess and put it up there. Then they holler about, I didn't know. Yeah, you knew. You were just waiting till somebody caught you. So thank you so much. I haven't heard him, but if I hear him again, I'm gonna call you again. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mrs. Gilbert. Have a good night. Mrs. Cherry, good evening. Your name and address for the record. You're muted. Mrs. Cherry, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Ms. Holman, your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, hi, my name is Katisha Holman and I live at 639 Brookside Place.
Okay.
Recently, the city came on our block, which is a dead-end block off of Girard Street, off of Front and Plainfield Avenue, and took away the parking. One side of the street, you made it no parking from the beginning of the block to the end of the block. On the side that I live on, which is the left-hand side, when you're turning onto Brookside Place, you took away our permit parking, which helped us as residents to have permits, and you put a bunch of sign of street cleaning Monday and Thursday. So my question to the council who passed this ordinance, when we have street cleaning, if there's no parking across on one side of the street and there's no parking on Monday and Thursday, when there's street cleaning, where are we supposed to put our cars at? Because I work overnight and I get home 3-4 o'clock in the morning. So on Monday morning when I come home, I put my car on the no parking side because there's no parking because of the street cleaning on the side that I live on. I'm not up 8, 9 o'clock in the morning because I work overnight. So y'all want the whole street to be clear so the street cleaner can come on the block? That's a bit much. Then they took away the permit parking. That helped us for people just coming and parking on the block, and we're residents who live on the block, and you took the signs down. Now, I spoke with Councilwoman Briggs about this multiple times when they first put the signs up. She told me, oh, she want her street, her ward to look like other wards. I get that. I'm not opposed to street cleaning, but where are we supposed to park our cars? It's bad enough when we had the permit parking, the cops will come around there and give us tickets. Because if you look up my name, I fought multiple tickets with me having a permit park sticker in my window, and I had to get them thrown out because the cops is lazy and don't take the time to look in the car windows for the permit stickers. So you took that away. So where are we supposed to put our cars at? You have residents who have 3 and 4 cars to one household. You have homeowners who have driveways, who rent to people, who allow their people to park on the street. So if you took one side of the street away with no parking and only one side you can park, where are we supposed to put our cars at? I for the life of me, I don't understand. I understand you want to keep the streets clean. We're not opposed to that. And they do street cleaning in other cities because I lived in Elizabeth for 6 years, and they do alternate street parking. You move your car to one side of the street so this side can get cleaned on this particular day. But if we move to one side, we get a ticket. So where are we supposed to put our cars at? They passed out papers prior to August 1st and to all the residents and told us that as of August 1st, they're going to be implementing, and you'll get a ticket if you park on the no parking side. Okay, before August 1st, I got a ticket because I parked my car on the no parking side because there's nowhere to park. So I'm not opposed to the ordinance. I'm not opposed to you wanting to clean the streets, but y'all took away the permit parking. So now our permit stickers is not even valid. Then I had a guy from the city came and knocked on my door, heavy set guy, George Jefferson haircut. Oh, Miss Holman, I understand, how you feel. I understand your frustration. We're going to, and this is exactly what he said to me. Everybody who lives in an apartment who don't have a driveway, houses who don't have a driveway, each apartment will get 2 permit stickers. He said, if the house has a driveway, they don't get permits at all. That didn't even happen. So you came from the city all the way to a Brookside place and knocked on my door to tell me a lie? And it seems like the city wants to make money off of the residents because people are constantly getting numerous of tickets, but where are we supposed to put our cars at? Nobody can answer that question, not even Ms. Briggs. She said, oh, I went down to the city. That's fine, but who's going to do something about it? If you take away the permit parking, anybody could park on the block now. We already had trouble with the people playing in the park for soccer. We call the cops because we have permit parking and we trying to park our cars. If you just go to the grocery store and the cops barely want to come, and then when you call the cops, you get a ticket. So I just want to ask that you revisit it and fix the signs, put the permit parking back because that kind of helped the residents. They just took that all away, period. Her statement, Ms. Briggs' statement to me was, oh, people parking on side streets, doing drugs.
Council President, the speaker's time's up.
Thank you, Ms. Holman. We appreciate your comment.
Just want to note that there are approximately 10 minutes left for all of public comments.
Okay. Thank you so much. Rolene Robinson, your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Rolene Robinson. I live at 725 West 7th. I am actually a new appointed vice president for the Plainfield Rescue Squad.
Yes.
I actually wanted to say a few stuff. I've been a member for the Plainfield Rescue Squad for the past 12 and a half years. And the one thing I could say, yes, I know in the past, there have been issues with paperwork. which I am working on now as being a new vice president. So my question is actually going back to what Congresswoman Ashley, Councilwoman, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, so please forgive me. Councilwoman Davis stated about the finances, where they stated that they ask every nonprofit organization that comes into Plainfield for their finances. Is that, out in the public records where we can get access to that so we can actually make sure that is correct? And also, I remember at last meeting last year that Abby, the BA, had stated that the city does not give funds to nonprofit organization. So my question is, if that is correct, why are we giving funds to River Road, which they are a nonprofit organization also? So, but as I was saying before, yes, I do know that we have issues with paperwork. We would love to be able to bring in a secretary that will be able to take care of that for us, but it's very hard when a lot of our members are on the truck and we are running 24/7. The crew comes in at 7 a.m. and they'll be out for the entire shift. They do 12-hour shifts. So a lot of times they are running from back-to-back calls. A lot of times they don't get the chance to eat. So it's very hard for us to deal with our paperwork, but none of our funds that comes in are ever taken lightly. All the funds that come in either goes towards preparing, maintaining our trucks, buying supplies that we need, also going for payroll and maintaining the building. So all of our funds are always put to where they need to be. So I did feel some type of way when they stated what they stated on us. So I just wanted to come out and say that. But no, we are not, mishandling any of our funds. All of our funds that we do get in from insurance and the donations that we do get from a lot of members from the city that we do appreciate that comes in, do go towards helping us provide what we need for the city. So all of our trainings and everything, supplies that we need for trainings, for the volunteers that come in, insurance, maintaining the trucks, maintaining our building, everything. So all of our funds are always go towards something. It's never misused in any way. So I just wanted to put that out there so everybody to know. And I appreciate you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Vice President Robinson, thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate all that you do. Kay Marvin, your name and address for the record, please. Please unmute yourself. Are they gone? You're muted. Okay, we're going to move right along to Brian Monroe, your name and address for the record, and you can unmute yourself.
Brian Monroe, 313 Franklin Place. Thank you for allowing me to speak again. I just want to reiterate how disappointed I am with the allocation of funds for the YMCA with all the misinformation that's being put out there from the mayor. I'm disappointed that we still haven't gone back to in-person meetings, as I sit there and watch Councilman Hockaday the last two meetings be half asleep or sleeping during the last meeting. I'm also disappointed that Director Dabney, I have sent several emails to, and I have yet to get a response regarding certain situations between several neighborhoods, which I've also included certain councilmen on, and he's just ignored them. But yes, once again, I am very disappointed. We will, McCray is the next one up, and we will vote you out. Have our word. As we got you in, you will be going. We are tired of the rubber stamps that you guys have allowed MAP to do to you. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your comment. Have a good night. Gregory Leclerc, your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm at 1021 to 23 Central Avenue. And what I wanted to do tonight was to thank members of your staff. Today I had an interesting situation that required me to be part of the clerk's office as well as the police department. And I have never been treated so well. your staff was so accommodating and helpful. And I didn't think I would ever experience that here. And I just wanted you to know as council, for those of you that are still here, and directors, that your clerk's office and your police department, they do care about our citizens. And I want to thank you for that. Everyone else has said everything about the other things I wanted to talk about, so I'll let that go. Thank you though. And you should tell them they do really good work and they are serving us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leclerc. We appreciate your comment. For the record, Mr. Wyatt will be our last call for public comment. Mr. Wyatt, your name and address for the record, please. You're muted, sir. Good evening. We can't hear you. Mr. Wyatt, good evening.
Hello?
Good
Hello?
evening. Good evening.
Hi. No,
Hi.
that was an accident. No one was
That's,
raising.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Right. Your name and address for the record.
Oh, this is Cynthia Smith,
Good evening.
Mr. Wyatt's mom. I didn't have a question tonight. Just watching the show.
Okay. Well, thank you. Public comment is hereby closed. I would like to thank everyone who participated in this evening's session. But prior to us adjourning, I would like to know, is there any member of the cabinet, of the administration that would like to respond? Just a second, please.
Can we close public comment as with a vote?
I just closed it.
Are we not making motions anymore?
No, I closed public comment. Public comment is hereby closed.
I don't think it's technically closed because it has to be voted on by the council to close public comment. So
Councilman McKenna, public comment is closed. Any member of the cabinet, any member of the cabinet that would like to respond to any of the
attorney? I don't
questions?
see Dave Mancello on here. I don't understand how that works. Suddenly you just decide you're going to close public comment differently than we do based on the rules that we set out in January. How does that work?
Councilman McKenna, do you have a motion on the floor to close public comment?
No, I don't. I'm asking you.
Okay.
I didn't ask for a motion. You don't just get to unilaterally close and open public comment.
I can close public comment. I just
But
did.
I'd like a ruling from an attorney on that. Who is the attorney? Mancello's out. Who's
Motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
No,
opposed? Any abstaining? Okay.
I'm opposed.
Okay. Public comment is hereby closed. I have a question for the administration. And I'm hoping that someone can answer this question. It's in regards to the fire division. And I need to know, are we following the best practices and laws required to govern our fire department here in the city of Plainfield? Who can answer that question for me?
I'll answer that. Absolutely. We are following all the laws, all the
And I
regulations.
would also like the mayor to chime in on that too, Director Childress, after you're done, okay?
Sure. We're following all the laws, all the regulations, all recommendations. NFPA, who sets the standard for how many firefighters are on the scene, states that they recommend to be in 16. That's a national standard. We have 16 on the scene. Every single firehouse is open. We have 4 men at each station. Before I made the change, we had 3 people at each station. Now we have 4 people at each station. The equipment that they referenced that took the place of Onion 3 is our squad company, which is a dual piece of equipment specifically made for that particular reason, to be a pumper and a rescue at the same time. I would also like to say that there's no place in town we get to in 15 minutes. That just doesn't happen. We, the national average is 8 to 9 minutes, and we're well under that, probably around 4 to 5 minutes anywhere in this town. So every single firehouse is open. They are fully manned, and those are the facts. We've met with the unions before. It is management's prerogative when it comes to staffing and how we do our apparatus. And myself and the mayor met with them last year, and I've met with them several times this year. We have a budget, which the council obviously mandates, and I have a fiduciary duty to make sure that we don't go over that number, and that would be tragic to the citizens after they're still dealing with recovering from COVID and Ida, that we go over our budget and require citizens to pay even more money. We just got finished talking about expenses to the citizens tonight, and there's no way that we're going to allow that to happen. But at the same time, we still have to provide the same level of service, which we do. Our fire department is one of the best in the state of New Jersey, I believe, and all our firefighters are professional, and they do a great job. But we have a budget to maintain, and we will.
Okay, but I said best practices and laws. So that's your statement. That's your statement. Would you like to add anything further to that, or?
No, my first statement to you was that we have complied with all laws, regulations, and or recommendations.
Okay.
So
yes, we have complied with all best practices.
Anything you'd like to add to that? Or
I'd also like to make a statement in regards to this.
Sure. 1 second, Director Dabney. 1 second. Are you done, Director Children?
Yes.
Okay. And before we move to the mayor, because I really need to hear from him, I really do. Director Abney, go right ahead.
There was a reference in regards to the fire at 825 North Avenue. As usual with a fire, the police department is the first on scene. We arrive at everything first. When we arrived at that residence, it was a fully engulfed fire on the right-hand side of the room and on the right-hand side of the building. It was fully engulfed. There were people assisting our officers in removing people from the building. I can't get into deep details about it, but it should not have been any reference in regards to a child perishing in that fire. That statement should not have been made. It shouldn't have been insinuated that somehow the city was negligent in any way in regards to this. That was just a poor statement. I don't know if it was a poor choice of words, but the police department was there. And when we got there first, we was there within a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It was fully engulfed. I just wanted to say.
Well, it was upsetting, which led to my questioning. Mayor, would you like to make a comment?
Mr. President, the only statement that I would like to make, because Director Childress and Director Abney both made statements that are very much on point. And I am so disappointed that a member of our fire department would use the unfortunate death of a child to seek to have his or their own way. And that will not happen under my watch. And Mr. Bell should apologize to the family of that innocent child who lost her life, which had nothing to do with the desire of Mr. Bell and others to not follow the commands of the director of the department. And so that saddens me that he would do what he just did. May her soul rest in peace.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your comments. Again, we thank everyone that participated this evening in this session of our council meeting. Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposing, abstaining. Good night, everyone. Be safe.